Chapter 1190. If it was Gong Sun Moyu in the past, he would not be able to eat the braised pork either. But now, he opened his mouth and ate a big piece. He had not improved his life for a long time. The 1.5 years in Wenshan were not easy. Except for the first 2 months of fighting with the county magistrate, he spent the rest of his time running around the village and outside. He even had to bring his own food to the people's houses. The people did not have enough food. His family was not rich. After he graduated from the academy, he gave most of the money he earned after the imperial examinations to his family. He had younger brothers and sisters at home. So now that he had a chance to eat meat, he stuffed it into his stomach. Anyway, the little ones would not like it. Soon, he finished the meat. Xiao Yuan pushed his own braised pork over. Gong Sun Moyu did not continue to eat. He picked up a piece and chewed slowly. He nodded gratefully to Xiao Bei and said, "It will be better in the future. Don't wait. I'll send dozens of boxes of canned food for you to eat. If you can't keep up with the nutrition, you will be tired out first. Who will help the people then? When you become the county magistrate in the future, you will be busy with more things. The goal is not to tire you out. Let me tell you first. No matter rich or poor, you have to educate the people well." Xiao Yuan looked at the cut on Gong Sun Moyu's hand holding the chopsticks and said with distress. It was definitely not only because of the wind and cold, but also because of malnutrition. Officials who were capable and sincere to the people had to be taken care of and loved. Okay. Gong Sun Moyu did not refuse. He also felt tired recently. Especially after he finished the work at the beginning of spring, he could find a place to lie down and sleep. It was not like this before. He ate 2 pieces of meat in a row. He paused his chopsticks and said, "In the past, I wanted to rely on myself. I planned to continue to expand the breeding of ducks. I would buy half-grown ducks and raise them for a few months to lay eggs. Then I would make century eggs. The county is rich in sea resources. It is suitable for raising ducks. What about now?" Xiao Bei tried not to look at the braised pork and lowered his head to ask. Gong Sun Moyu did not answer Xiao Bei directly. Instead, he continued to talk about his previous plans. "There are still a few good minerals in the county. I was thinking of finding a businessman to take a look. In addition, I will plant various vegetables in the late season. Although the vegetables are produced late at the beginning and I will lose money, when the price rises, it will be more cost-effective. Also, try to plant a few medicinal herbs that are easy to take care of. After the profits are generated next year, we will increase the planting area. After 2 years, I will be relieved. At that time, whether I leave or stay, I will not have any regrets." Xiao Bei had already poured the soup into his bowl and was halfway into his mouth when he stopped. "It's okay. Since I want to use the resources now, I don't intend to find merchants to mine them first and then process them outside. I asked the technicians to come over and build a cement factory in the area. The cement produced would be sent to the outside along the Wanjiang River. Selling the finished product would be more profitable than selling the raw materials. As for the environmental pollution, I'll think of a way to find a remote place to build a factory. At most, I'll just throw that piece of land away. For example, when the Great Tang Bank borrows money, doesn't the Imperial Court have a plan to support it? I used my connections to apply for it first. Buy more piglets and build a large pig house area next to the sea. Add the mud in the sea and make a large biogas pool. Use charcoal to burn gypsum and continue to deliver." When it came to business, Gong Sun Moyu's chopsticks stopped moving and his eyes lost focus. His entire body and mind were devoted to the plan. If one looked at him from the side, one would find that he was the most handsome at this moment. The people around him also stopped what they were doing and quietly looked at him and listened to him speak. A few local girls who came to help stared at him without blinking. A serious man was indeed attractive. Xiao Bei and the others were stunned and puzzled. They felt that Gong Sun Moyu's expression was making a fuss over nothing. It was just a plan. Did he have to be so serious? When her brother and sister discussed national affairs together, they were relaxed and could even joke. Okay, maybe everyone is different. Xiao Bei muttered her thoughts and then smiled embarrassedly. She suggested, raising cows is not good. Our county has pasture resources. Moreover, cows are easy to sell and the beef is delicious. Oh no, it's the beef that accidentally dies is delicious. After making the suggestion, Xiao Bei looked around guiltily. The beef that she ate naturally could not be completely dependent on the cow to die by itself. Other people did not care about how the cow died and had tacitly agreed to the benefits and enjoyment of the privileged class. We don't have enough money. I can't use too many resources. We have to leave some for others. There is a lot of pasture. Last year, because of some restrictions, we did not implement it. Today, we plan to produce a large number of Qingchuan and cooperate with the garrison in Pangzhou to exchange their eliminated warhorses. Then, we will transport the warhorses to Chengdu and rent them out as laborers. We will use the money to buy supplies. When Gong Sun Moyu spoke, he glanced at Wang Chong and the registrar. The two people who were looked at could not help but tremble and feel weak in the knees. Last year, when Gong Sun Moyu wanted to organize the Qingchuan, they gathered the laborers to build the river one day in advance. The timing of the annual labor of the common people was very appropriate. Thinking of that, they were worried and impressed. They were worried that Gong Sun Moyu would tell Xiao Bei and the others. They were impressed because Gong Sun Moyu did not show the slightest anger or frustration in the face of such a situation. Instead, he used the opportunity when a large number of people were building the irrigation system to release a lot of bamboo rafts. Then, they were transported to Shu County in Yizhou and burned into bamboo charcoal in a remote place. A few months ago, they were sold in Yizhou City in the winter and made a lot of money. They ordered a lot of iron chains and were about to be transported back to the county. They were going to build a mixed iron and bamboo bridge over the Wanjiang River. After all, iron was too expensive and the money was far from enough. What a good move to beat them at their own game. They could not help but be impressed. Yes, County Magistrate Gong Sun, speaking of which, I am also. Shut up. Xiao Bei glared at the registrar who just spoke. This time, we don't want to kill people. Don't force me. You keep silent now. I will forgive you if I am happy with what Gong Sun Moyu said. You can't hide the fact that you are doing bad things behind the scenes. Don't think that I don't know that some things are referring to you and Wang Chong. As expected, the registrar did not dare to speak again. He thought that he could fool him, but he did not expect that Xiao Bei was also a shrewd person. Turning his head, Xiao Bei smiled and said to Gong Sun Moyu, "You know the actual situation. I gave you a blind idea. What other ideas do you have?" On the way here, we met a group of people who asked for 2 water pumps. We agreed, but the problem of electricity is not easy to solve. Originally, we wanted to rely on manpower and animal power to generate electricity. Tell me about this. No, the fields on the mountain are useless. Gong Sun Moyu rejected. It is not cost-effective to build a small hydropower station in this county. The fields on the mountain have been planted this year. Tomorrow, I will let them plant medicinal herbs. If it is really not possible, we will use bamboo to attract the mountain spring. Okay. Xiao Bei was not familiar with the local situation, so he followed the good advice. He would send someone to tell the people he met. It was not that he did not want to give, but that Gong Sun Moyu did not want it. Go on, what else do you want to do? Xiao Bei asked again. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had already arrived at Wing Prefecture, looked very leisurely at the moment. Last night, they drank with the people of various villages and woke up at 7 in the morning. They only had a bowl of porridge and would have a good meal at noon. Now, the 2 of them were standing upstairs and looking at the busy street through the window. When they arrived yesterday, many people had already started moving from outside to the city. When an Yi was the provincial governor, he made many businessmen leave. Now that they heard that Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo were coming, the businessmen began to come back. They believed that even if the 2 of them left, there would be no more problems in Wing Prefecture. One by one, they brought their families and formed a huge team to enter the city. The houses, which were originally covered with spider webs, were cleaned up again. Everyone's faces were filled with happy smiles when they were working. Not only people came back, but also many goods from outside. Looking at the crowd and imagining the prosperous scene in the future, Chong Hu's smile never stopped. He said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "When the war starts, Wing Prefecture can be used as a logistics base. I believe that many people will settle down there." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and said, "We need to build the river. It's still not convenient to transport goods by land." River? Where does the river go? Chong Hu was confused. The river was built, and it was the last to enter the Yangtze River. What did it have to do with the front line? To transport the things in the mountains out. Zhang Xiaobao answered. Not going to war? Chong Hu was still thinking about the war. Yes, but not in a hurry. We'll stay in Wing Prefecture for half a month first, and then go sightseeing all the way there. It'll be fine as long as we can arrive before September. When the autumn harvest comes, we'll transport the surplus food from other places and the local specialties out. We need a lot of people for the big trade. Wang Wan added. Chong Hu was even more confused. He lowered his head and pondered for a while, but still didn't understand. He said, "Didn't we say that we would start the war before the autumn harvest and catch them off guard? If you don't start the war earlier, they'll have all the food." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan laughed mysteriously. After a long time, one would find that they were laughing sinisterly. "Tell me, what's the plan?" Chong Hu urged. "When we come, the war will start. Many cannibals will know that we're in Wing Prefecture, and then we'll go to the front line. What will they think?" Zhang Xiaobao asked. Chong Hu immediately answered, "Of course, they'll be prepared for war. When you come, they'll be very scared and need to guard against you." "How will they prepare for war?" Zhang Xiaobao asked again. "Of course, they'll gather their forces at the border and wait for you to take action. They'll try their best to defeat you or not lose too much land." "Oh, I understand. Once they do as I say, they won't have anyone to harvest the food. You'll use the cannons to cover them, kill their people, and occupy their land, right?" Chong Hu rolled his eyes and felt that he had figured it out. This was a good idea. Before the two armies fought, they could torment their opponents first. Although they would give the other side time to gather their forces, they could still use the cannons. Zhang Xiaobao was still smiling. After a while, he said, "If we do as you say, how can my cuckoo be the vice principal of the military academy? Why would His Majesty hold the position of a dean and teach everything to my Yawan?" "Huh? I didn't say that? Then you want to wait until next year?" Chong Hu couldn't keep up with the train of thought. He couldn't guess how the war would start. "We'll fight this year, and we'll beat them hard for a few months. War is unpredictable, and water is unpredictable. We'll fight and not fight. That's why we're here in person." Zhang Xiaobao's words made it seem like he had understood everything, but in fact, it was still a mystery. Chapter 1191. Chong Hu opened his mouth again but stopped himself. He just remembered that the strategy of the great Tang should be kept a secret, and he was not qualified to know. It was like how Xiao Bao did not answer the political questions at the end of the imperial examinations. Who would dare to ask when it involved the foundation of the great Tang? "Xiao Bao, you and Cuckoo pack up and go back to the stronghold to drink tonight. Everyone misses you. I remember that you were only this tall back then." Chong Hu gestured in front of his chest. "It has been a few years. If they see your backs, they won't be able to recognize you. Xiao Bao, do you still need a younger brother or sister?" Chong Hu finally revealed his intentions. He wanted to continue stuffing people into Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's hands. He had a few wives and many children at home. Raising them by himself would definitely not be as good as giving them to the two of them. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Chong Hu with a different gaze until Chong Hu felt embarrassed. "Uncle, we are going to war. My matters are no less than Cuckoo's. The army is just a support. I have to do most of the planning. I can't even bring my own siblings." We can't do anything about the things you mentioned. Alright, forget it. Let's not talk about it. I am content with having Xiaofang and Xiaojiang. You are right. Cuckoo is good at using troops. Others might be afraid of her, but you are different. You kill without spilling blood. Now, the Tubo people will cry at the mention of your name. Seeing that the matter was not going to work, Chong Hu did not force it. Zhong Xiaobao was silent. Wang Wan covered her mouth and laughed. Chong Hu's words made sense. She led the army to fight against the Tubo people and won temporarily. If Xiaobao did not let go, the Tubo people would be wiped out. If it was not for the family, would he be the one who came up with the idea of destroying the foundation of the Tubo people? Seeing that the two of them did not speak, Chong Hu smiled and praised. You don't know. Because Brother Yongcheng was in Izhou at that time, the people of Izhou came to Tubo to do business. The Tubo people have never dared to do business with them, and the price is fair. Uncle, don't always talk about Tubo. That place is now called Luozhou. It's not a problem to call it a Dao, but it has a small population. Luo province was rich in resources. Due to environmental factors, it had great strategic value. Why do I have to take that place down in one go? It's because I'm afraid that if I stop after a dozen fights, it'll take a lot of effort the next time. While the status of the other religions is still unstable, we should take back our great Tang as soon as possible. This will save us a lot of trouble in the future. The rest is an internal matter. We can take our time. Speaking of that, Zhong Xiaobao was also vexed. That place was big, and the population was small. In other words, when there was a war, the enemy could hide, and they had strategic depth. If he hadn't caught the other party off guard, followed up with the economic and crop strategy, and showed the guns and cannons later, when the other party was familiar with the area, they would have to pay a huge price if they wanted to take over the area. Even now, it was not easy to do so. If they moved all the people here, the local area would be empty. If they sent people from other places, such as Jiangnan, there would be no difference from sending them to their deaths. If 100 people were to live in a place for 2 years, it would be considered good if 10 of them could survive. If they maintained the status quo, they would have to strengthen the propaganda. Otherwise, it would be easy for the local people to have ideas of independence. Now, they were afraid of both fighting and suffering. In addition, the people who went to help during the disaster had changed the minds of many locals. But who could guarantee that there were no ambitious people? How could Chong Hu know so many things? He just needed to take care of his own stronghold. When he heard Zhong Xiaobao say that the name was changed, he nodded, indicating that he had remembered it. Suddenly, he thought of something and asked expectantly, Xiaobao, how long will you and Cuckoo fight? There are many good guys in the stronghold. Can you arrange for them to protect you? Zhong Xiaobao shook his head regretfully. No, we are not in charge of choosing people. The guards have to be tested. If the people in the stronghold are older, they can go and learn first. Then, we will arrange their positions according to the situation. Seeing Chong Hu nod to show that he understood, he said, there is no fixed number for how long the battle will last. At least 2 years. Yes, it's not good to fight with too much food. The place is big and there are many people. Chong Hu frowned, looking worried. Uncle, it has nothing to do with too much food, Wang Wan interrupted. Chong Hu was stunned. You fight with too much food? How long you fight has nothing to do with too much food. Then what's the deal with Duosher? They are just partners. They are just gathering grass to hunt rabbits. If the domestic problem is solved in 1.5 years, we will fight for 1.5 years. If it is solved in 2 years, we will fight for 2 years. If 2 years are not enough, we will continue to fight with Duosher. Wang Wan replied with a smile. Chong Hu did not know what domestic problems needed to be solved by fighting others, but he deeply felt the arrogance and unreasonableness of the two people in front of him. It was obvious that the two of them did not take Duosher seriously. Duosher was really wrong to be beaten up this time. After thinking about it again, Chong Hu gave up. He was afraid that thinking too much would give him a headache. The situation was too strange. They had a problem in their own country, but they did not solve it. Instead, they went to fight others. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, of course, would not explain in detail to Chong Hu. If they really did, they would not be able to finish explaining in a day. They made an appointment with Chong Hu to go to the stockade to drink in the evening. The two of them strolled to the not very big river outside the city, intending to collect water to do an experiment on raising ornamental fish. Before they reached the river, a servant hurried over and reported, "Bai Go and Yao Chong are here." Zhang Xiaobao and Yao Chong looked at each other in shock. After a while, Zhang Xiaobao sighed heavily. Why are they not working on their economic intelligence system? Why are they here? I guess there is something. It is not clear in the telegram for fear of leaking the secret. Someone, go get some sets of fishing equipment. Fortunately, we are going to stroll by the river. Otherwise, we would have to make a special trip. Wang Wan also sighed. The two of them could still run to Ezhou. They must be in good health. According to the records in the book, the two of them had died many years ago. Xiaobao, Cuckoo, did you miss Grandpa? The two of them did not wait for too long. When they were on the road into the mountains, Bai Go's unique voice sounded. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at Bai Go and Yao Chong and were even more stunned. They were actually riding bicycles. It was obvious that the tires were rubber. Could it be that the two of them rode here from the capital? How tiring! Zhang Xiaobao sighed. If they don't ride all the time, others will be even more tired. The weight of the bicycle is not light, Wang Wan added. Then, she quickly walked up to them. With a creak, Bai Go pinched the front of the bicycle and touched the ground with his left foot. The bicycle drew an arc on the ground and stopped. He played with the wheel for a while. Grandpa Bai, you did a great job. If you do it a few more times on the cement ground, you can change the tire. Zhang Xiaobao walked up to him and helped him hold the handlebars. Bai Go nimbly lifted his leg and got off the bicycle. He shook his head. Cement won't do. I've tried it before. I have to ride fast to shake it off. The friction is too high. Mud is better. There are grains of sand. I can change the sliding into rolling. Zhang Xiaobao. Yao Chong looked much calmer. Mainly because he looked very calm. After getting off the bicycle, he nodded to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, indicating that he was here. Have you eaten? Bai Go swung his arms and asked casually. Yes. Have you two eaten? Zhang Xiaobao was waiting for a reply. If they said that they had not eaten, he would ask someone to cook immediately. Yao Chong said directly, yes. Bai Go said in detail. I had a big bowl of clear soup in the morning. It was made of seaweed. There was a 2-inch long prawn in it. It was very fresh. Actually, I was planning to save some space for lunch. Xiaobao, guess what I want to eat? Wang Wan immediately said, Grandpa Bai, do you want to eat fish? Did you catch it yourself? Cuckoo is such a sweet girl. I didn't take care of her for nothing when we were young. I was planning to eat that too. Is there a good fishing spot nearby? Bai Go clapped his hands and praised Wang Wan happily. There is a place. Follow us. We will reach it in about 15 minutes. Wang Wan pointed in the direction of the river. In fact, she knew where the river was. It was not like she had never been here before. Zhang Xiaobao went to support Yao Chong. Wang Wan supported Bai Go. They chatted while walking to the river. In Wang Wan's heart, she was very grateful to Bai Go. Without Bai Go's help in the past, it would have taken her a few years to reach her current level. Bai Go kept squeezing their family's technology. To be precise, he squeezed her and Xiao Bao's technology to tell others that they were still useful and needed to be protected. At the same time, he also used the technology to convince Li Longji and the other officials. In the beginning, why did he always wander around the two families' territory and follow them when they went out? Wasn't it because his guards were more powerful than the guards at home? Although they didn't need them now, they couldn't forget this kindness. The only thing that annoyed him was that he had been too harsh on him at that time. He wanted to take away the technology that he had just figured out. who asked him to not know that all the technology was developed by him and Xiaobao. He even thought that there was an expert behind the scenes who had contributed. Sigh. Thinking about that, it felt like yesterday. She didn't know what happened this time. Why did he come here personally? Wang Wan felt sentimental. As they chatted, they reached the river. There was a stone slab that was specially used for washing clothes. No one was washing clothes today, so they sat on the stone slab and fished. Bai Go didn't bring a fishing rod, but he knew that Zhang Xiaobao had one. Sure enough, a large pile of things was brought over. Bai Go and Yao Chong started to pick and choose. They looked at each of them, as if they wanted to get a good result. Zhang Xiaobao knew that it was impossible to focus on fishing, so he casually picked up a fishing rod. He didn't even choose the bait. There was a ball of dough nearby, so he used it. He didn't throw the fishing rod and just directly threw the hook into the water in front of him. Bai Go picked for more than 10 minutes before nodding in satisfaction. He then took out an earthworm and put it on the hook. With a swish, he threw the hook into the water. He held the fishing rod with both hands and narrowed his eyes. But sometimes, luck was more important than strength and equipment. Zhang Xiaobao was so casual, but in less than 2 minutes, the fishing rod sank. Zhang Xiaobao lifted the fishing rod and a grass carp weighing about 2 kilograms appeared. Wang Wan helped to pick the fish. She also helped to change the dough of another color and threw it in. In less than a minute, a black fish weighing about 1 kilogram appeared. That's not right. Bai Go stared at Zhang Xiaobao's fishing rod. The first one is a grass carp. You can catch it with the dough. The second one is a black fish. Why did you use the dough? How did it bite the hook? Zhang Xiaobao didn't pay attention to fishing. Hearing Bai Go's question, he was also puzzled. Wang Wan explained, I put something in the dough. When I put it on the hook, I molded it into the shape of a small fish. Bai Go nodded and said to Zhang Xiaobao, Cuckoo is right. Big fish eat small fish. Xiaobao, do you think it's because the big fish is too pitiful or because the small fish is too weak? If there are too many big fish, can the small fish survive? Chapter 1192. Zhang Xiaobao was ready. It would be strange if Bai Go didn't discuss business when he was fishing. Hearing Bai Go's words, he said, Grandpa Bai is right. If there are big fish, there will be no small fish. Grandpa Bai, do you think the fishers will be happy if they encounter this situation? The fishers will be happy too. Good, that's good, but Xiaobao, can you guarantee that a pond with 1,000 fish of different sizes will end up with 1,000 big fish in the end? If there are only 100 big fish left, the other 900 fish will be gone. Bai Go shook the rod twice and raised the hook. He found that the earthworms were gone and the fish were gone. He had to continue hanging the bait. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao and waited for his reply. Yao Chong didn't seem to hear the conversation. He was looking at his float. When the breeze blew, his hair and beard fluttered. He was very relaxed. The others who came with Yao Chong and Bai Go stayed far away. They knew that the master had important national affairs to discuss. Mo Baojia looked down on fishing. It depended on who he was fishing with. If he was fishing with Zhang Xiaobao, he would have a big harvest every time. It was much more important than the fish. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be thinking. In fact, he was thinking about what to cook for lunch. If there were enough fish, he could cook a fish feast. If the result was bad, he had to eat other dishes. He didn't know if his brothers and sisters could eat and sleep well. Until Bai Go changed the bait twice, Zhang Xiaobao said under his expectant eyes, How about separating the big fish from the small fish? For example, black fish. Don't let other fish around it. Black fish also eat black fish. Bai Go reminded. Yes, it eats its own kind. Then keep each black fish separately. Zhang Xiaobao came up with another idea. Can it still grow up? Won't it starve to death? Xiaobao, tell me something useful. Bai Go began to interrogate. He realized that Zhang Xiaobao was just fooling around. He was clearly being careless. Just as Zhang Xiaobao was about to answer, the fishing rod bent and almost slipped out of his hand. He quickly grabbed the fishing rod and shouted at Wang Wan, "Get the net. This fish shouldn't appear in this river. It's so strange." Wang Wan reacted very quickly. With a swish, she put the net into the water, and then the river churned. When the net was lifted up, there was a fat fish that was still struggling inside. After weighing it twice, Wang Wan said, "It's at least 12 pounds. It's not that big. Finally, we have fish head soup to drink. I was thinking of finding a few crucian carps. Save me the trouble." Zhang Xiaobao helped to transfer the fish into another net. He rubbed his hands happily as he placed the fish into the river. Yao Cheng, who had been silent all this time, moved his throat. Baigo also swallowed his saliva and said excitedly, "The fish soup made by Xiao Bao is delicious." At noon, a dish was finished. Zhang Xiaobao put the bait again and returned to the topic of fishing. He said to Yao Cheng and Baigo, "It's okay for the big fish to eat the small fish, as long as the small fish are not dead and live in the big fish's stomach. Maybe the small fish will eat more water plants than they usually eat. When the big fish and the small fish grow together, the fish farmer will be very happy." After listening to Zhang Xiaobao, Baigo lowered his head and thought for a while. He asked, "Do all the small fish have to be eaten by the big fish? If some small fish are not eaten by the big fish and can't compete with the small fish that are eaten by the big fish, will they starve to death?" "Yes, even the big fish are also dangerous. If they accidentally fall into the shallows, or eat the wrong thing, or even get bitten by other big fish, who can escape the reincarnation of life and death? The flower that never withers is a fake flower." Zhang Xiaobao didn't continue to think this time, because he found that Yao Cheng had also caught a black fish. It seemed to be about 3 pounds. At noon, another dish was served. According to the current time, it was absolutely not a problem to catch 8 or 10 more fish. It was enough for an all-fish banquet. Naturally, there was no need to think about lunch. If Baigo knew that Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about lunch, he would probably push Zhang Xiaobao into the river. Which was more important? Talk about fish. Don't talk about flowers. Baigo reminded him and let Zhang Xiaobao continue to talk about fish. If they talked about flowers, they would be at a disadvantage. Baigo turned to Wang Wan and said, "Cuckoo, put 2 prawn baskets in the grass so that Xiao Bao can fry them and dip them in salt and pepper. I have never figured out why Xiao Bao's salt and pepper is different from others. It seems to be the same thing." Wang Wan nodded and gestured to the people next to her. She replied, "Because this is an exclusive recipe, a secret ancestral recipe. We are counting on it to make money. Cuckoo, your 3-year-old little nephew likes to eat soft fried tenderloin and hand-grilled mutton. 3 years old. I remember when he taught you and Xiao Bao in the pavilion in Zhuangzi in Sanshui County. You two were about the same age." Baigo started to talk about food and stopped asking Zhang Xiaobao about fish for the time being. He began to recall. Wang Wan did not correct Baigo's statement that there were 2 kinds of dishes in one mouth. She also seemed to recall the past and said with a sweet smile, "That was so good. Grandpa Bai, don't worry. My nephew's stomach will not be short. Later, I will ask someone to send 50 kilograms of salt and pepper to him and seal it in a small bottle. After he finishes eating, you can send a telegram and I will ask someone to send more." Baigo nodded helplessly and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiao Bao, if too many fish die, what should we do with the river? We can't lack fish in the river." Zhang Xiaobao would not tell Baigo that the different taste of salt and pepper was because they had been roasted in the bamboo tube. Otherwise, the whole Tang Empire would know it in a few days. Zhang Xiaobao said, "That's easy. Since you are afraid that there will not be enough fish, you can put more fry first and try not to let them fight for food. If you are afraid that there is not enough food for fish, you can put in crab seedlings and shrimp seedlings. It is not a good thing to have too many fish in a river. Even the river snail has its reason to exist." Baigo did not say anything. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao and waited for him to continue. Zhang Xiaobao calmly pulled up another fish and continued, "The importance of the river lies in the fact that it provides nutrients for everything in the body. Most of the time, there is not much to do, unless there is something that has grown too much and has a problem. Only then will there be a need to do something personally. All the species in the river are a kind of cycle. As long as you maintain it well, the river will not become stagnant and you can use all kinds of things at any time. But I think that the river is very dangerous now. If we don't do something about it, it will easily destroy the bank. Baigo squeezed together the wrinkles on his face and looked very worried. Yao Chong also stopped what he was doing and looked at Zhang Xiaobao, hoping that he could come up with a good idea. Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. She knew that the economic intelligence personnel sent by the old men had recently collected information that there was a problem in the Tang Empire. The main problem should be in three aspects. First, the excessive concentration of material resources. Even though the land had been solved by other policies, other resources were still uncontrollable. Second, the scale of labor. The operation of capital had started to develop in other aspects. Work efficiency had increased and costs had decreased, but it had started to affect the small handicraft industry. When the same thing was produced, the cost of the factory was 2 copper coins. The individual handicraft worker was 4 copper coins. If they sold it for 3 copper coins, the individual would starve to death. Even if they sold it for 4 copper coins, they would just be doing charity for nothing. The third and most important point was the imbalance of income. It was reflected in the difference between employers and employees, between business and other industries, between technical and non-technical jobs, and between resource-rich and resource-poor areas. The first thing that was reflected in the above 3 points was marriage. Animals knew to choose a strong partner when mating, let alone humans. Then there was the relationship between neighbors. The result of not being controlled was that although everyone's lives were much better than before, they still felt that their lives were not as good as before. If the polarization was too severe, it could topple the regime. In truth, there were 2 other points: resource hoarding and price monopoly. However, the merchants did not dare to do so, afraid that if they did, Xiao Bao would get angry and make a move on them. That would truly be a matter of life and death. Even if Xiao Bao did not use administrative means, no merchant had the confidence to say that they were not afraid and clamored to compete with him. Let alone these merchants, even those who knew a lot of things did not dare to play economic games with Xiao Bao. It had to be known that the rules and laws of the various industries had been perfected, and Xiao Bao could still find ways to cheat people. Some people could not be judged by common sense. Those who could become chairmen and presidents were very capable, but those who could become qualified international swindlers were also not free. If there is a war to fight, it will be very easy for Xiao Bao to deal with it, Wang Wan said as she thought about it. War? Oh, so the 2 of you have been waiting for this opportunity. However, the war can only be solved for a while, but not for a lifetime. Baigo suddenly understood. No wonder the 2 of them did not go directly to the front line to launch a huge attack, but instead came to Izhou for a stroll. It turned out that they were waiting for the domestic conflicts to intensify before sending troops. Those who could not find a good job were laborers. The production had to be speeded up, and the consumption of resources would increase. The focus of the people had turned to other aspects. One word: wait. The question is, how long do we have to wait? Baigo did not think that there would be a big problem immediately if they continued in the current situation. It was okay to hold on for 3 to 5 years, or even 8 to 10 years. Wait for the new policy of the imperial court. Zhang Xiaobao did not talk about fish. Which policy? Yao Chong could not help but ask. A series of policies and a basket of plans. The administrative plan will be sent to each county by telegram. The next day after the announcement is made, the roar of the cannon will be heard. Then, the country will be peaceful for a few years. After a few years, when another problem arises, we will solve it. I don't have the ability to solve it once and for all. Zhang Xiaobao freed a hand and pointed in the direction of Duoshe, meaning to hit it. Baigo could not help but tremble. He looked at Yao Chong, who also showed fear in his eyes. He did not know how ruthless the policy was that they needed to start a war immediately to divert the conflicts. After the war, or in the middle of the war, the Tang Empire is not in a hurry. Isn't there still a problem? Bai Go felt that war could not solve the fundamental problem of the rich becoming richer and the poor becoming poorer and poorer. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. No, there is no problem. In the middle of the war, we will need manpower, and the kind with high income and low requirements. It is nothing more than the merger of resources, a small matter. As long as it is not necessary for the people's livelihood and land resources, it will not be chaotic. I want to make the rich richer, and then they can raise the wages of the hired workers. Xiao Bao, I admit that you are good, but I don't believe that they will listen to you if you ask them to raise the wages of others, Bai Go said bluntly. Yao Cheng also nodded. It is not that they will raise the wages because I ask them to. It is that even if I don't ask them to raise the wages, they will still raise the wages, and it is the kind that is very urgent and cannot be stopped. Zhang Xiaobao replied with certainty. Chapter 1193. Bai Go and Yao Cheng look at each other. If the words came out of someone else's mouth, they would have slapped him. How could a rich businessman be so cheap? He has too much money and nowhere to spend it? However, hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, they have to believe him. They squint their eyes and think about how to make a businessman take the initiative to increase their wages. This is a problem. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continue to fish and shrimps. After catching a few more fish and feeling that they have enough for lunch, Zhang Xiaobao takes off his clothes and jumps into the river. He dives in and starts to fish for river snails. Maybe the people nearby don't eat river snails, so there are a lot of them in the river. After a while, a large basin of river snails is thrown on the shore. Someone comes to pick up the basin and sprinkles a layer of fine salt to let the river snails spit out the mud. As soon as Zhang Xiaobao comes ashore, he is covered with a cloth. When the cloth is removed, Zhang Xiaobao has changed into a pair of shorts. Good, we have a good meal for lunch. With ginger and garlic juice, chopped green onions and coriander foam, we can drink 2 cups of yellow wine. It's better than the gods. Bai Go feels that he has come up with a way to increase people's wages. When he comes back to his senses, he sees a lot of river snails and says a dish. There is a dish for lunch, fried spicy river snails. Zhang Xiaobao says the name of a dish. Eat it raw. Yao Cheng, who also comes back to his senses, supports Bai Go. Grandpa Bai, Grandpa Yao, listen to Xiao Bao. If you eat it raw, you may get infected with parasites. If you really want to eat it raw, let people get more from the river. After a few days, you can eat it after screening. Wang Wan quickly persuades them. She is afraid that the 2 old men will die from eating it. Even if there are no parasites, there are some bacteria in the river snails. If they accidentally eat it, they will be tortured half to death. Yao Cheng and Bai Go sigh at the same time. Obviously, they just want to eat something raw. It seems that they didn't have a good time on the road. The 2 of them had been living in Sanshui County for a long time, so their stomachs had long adapted to the local environment. Changing places made them uncomfortable, so they wanted to eat raw food to nourish their appetites and fight poison with poison. There should be some in the restaurants in the city. Let's go back and cook a meal for the 2 elders. Zhang Xiaobao thought that his own restaurant would have some in stock to satisfy the 2 old men. Bai Go was overjoyed. He nodded excitedly. Good, good, we can still see the little ones. It's lively. The little ones aren't with you? I went to Mount Wanshan in Maozhou first. If you're not busy, you can come back in a few days. Zhang Xiaobao had already put on his clothes when he spoke. He sat down again and continued fishing. There's no hurry. We're a bunch of old farts. We just want to give you and Cuckoo a hand. My old arms and legs can't bear the burden of marching and fighting, but I can still help pick vegetables and cook, as long as you don't think we're a burden. Bai Go explained the purpose of his visit. From his words, it seemed that there were still people on the way. Oh, who dares to say that you can't help? If His Majesty finds out that you're only in charge of washing vegetables and cooking, he'll punish me. With you guys here, I'm relieved. I originally wanted to let the people of the inner yard take care of that, but I was worried that they couldn't shoulder the heavy burden at such a young age. With you guys here, the big problem is solved. Zhang Xiaobao quickly flattered. With a group of old men, the inner yard could spare some people to do other things. How could the people who came with Bai Go and Yao Chong be ordinary? Any one of them could easily deal with the problems of a province or a prefecture. Ha 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 ha. Bai Go laughed happily. He was not modest at all and looked full of confidence. Yao Chong was also happy. He squeezed his wrinkles and said, "We just came back because of you and Cuckoo. If it were others, they wouldn't have such a big face." That's right, that's right. Others can't compare to me and Cuckoo. On the way, should I send someone to welcome them? Zhang Xiaobao was worried about the old men walking behind them. Bai Go waved his hand and said, "No need. It's not that they can't keep up. They were traveling and saw this broken bridge and insisted on painting. Why can't they understand that painting is more important or coming early to eat good food? Then you brought people here and didn't help to repair the broken bridge?" Zhang Xiaobao felt that it was immoral to treat a broken bridge as a scenery when they saw it. Repair what? There's a new bridge next to it, but they say that the broken bridge is good. If the broken bridge is good, why would the locals build a new bridge? They see the broken bridge as a beautiful scenery, but the people from the new bridge see them as fools, Yao Chong said disdainfully. Don't mention them, don't mention them. Let them wander behind. Their worldview is too small. The scenery they see on the road is just a corner. With Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they taste the delicacies of the world and see the world's scenery. They say that the broken bridge and flowing water reflect the mortal world, but I write about the smoke of war and the flames of war. Bai Go made a dough with his hands and sighed. Yao Chong saw that there was enough fish and was not in the mood to fish anymore. He casually threw the hook into the river and put his other hand on his knee. He said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Should we ask His Majesty to write a decree into the law and order employers everywhere to raise their wages?" Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "No, the prosperity of different places is different. How do we set wages?" According to the situation of each place, the people will definitely migrate in large numbers. It's complicated and can't be solved in a few years. I can't wait. I know. Bai Go said, Xiao Bao issued an order to all the merchants in the Tang Empire to raise their wages. Anyone who disobeys will be dealt with. Grandpa Bai, do you think I'm so useless that I need to use threats to achieve my goals? Zhang Xiaobao mumbled. Threats are also a kind of ability. I want to threaten them, but they're not afraid. Did you forget what happened in the capital during the New Year? The prices of all kinds of things skyrocketed. Once the rumors spread, the prices fell. Bai Go smiled at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao gritted his teeth. I really didn't say that anyone can't raise their wages during the New Year. And the rumors didn't come from the people. I was tricked by His Majesty and can't clarify it. If I really told others that I don't object to the price increase, the price would go out of control that day. It's like forcing a cow to drink water. If you sell me, I'll have to help you count the money. I'll gladly do it. Wang Wan smiled and leaned on Zhang Xiaobao. She had a blissful expression because she knew that Zhang Xiaobao was not threatened at all. Even if he was tricked, he would still endure it. It was all for the sake of the greater good. Ha ha, that's why I said that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are good kids. Speaking of which, the world is very interesting. More than a decade ago, the people didn't have a good life, but they could still live a stable life. Now that their lives are better, the people's hearts are wavering. When the national treasury was poor, they worried. When they had money, they still worried. Probably only His Majesty is in the best mood. Before we came, the palace was being renovated. The old single-story palaces were all being torn down and replaced with the lowest four-story palaces. The officials wanted to persuade them but didn't know how to open their mouths. His Majesty is using the internal treasury. Not only is he building the inner palace, but he's also building the offices of the various departments. If this was 15 years ago, would His Majesty dare to do this? Xiao Bao, if His Majesty is good, His Majesty must be good too. Bai Go's tone changed as he spoke. His meaning was very clear. It was Xiao Bao who helped His Majesty earn the internal treasury, which was no less than the national treasury's income. Otherwise, how could His Majesty be so rich? Zhang Xiaobao smacked his lips twice. He was not embarrassed at being criticized at all. Instead, he was very proud. He raised his chin to Wang Wan, who was leaning on his shoulder, and said, "Madam, you talk to the two grandpas. I'm leaning on you to rest for a while, but you don't let me feel comfortable." Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao discontentedly. She sat up straight and smiled at the two old men. She said, "The palace is only so big." Building tall buildings is a reasonable use of land. If all the villages in the Tang Empire have more than 4-story buildings, there will be a lot more land. Am I right? The two old men didn't say anything, which was a tacit agreement. Wang Wan said again, "When His Majesty builds the palace, he pays for the materials and wages. He never takes credit. The suppliers of the materials benefit, the workers benefit, and the officials benefit. When His Majesty is happy, he also benefits. In other words, when a part of the money is spent, everyone will be happy." How can he be happy when the money is spent? Bai Go felt that Wang Wan's words were twisted logic. You mean that he will be happy if he doesn't spend the money? Later, I'll ask someone to put 100,000 strings of cash on the table. Grandpa Bai, look at the money, stare at it, and you will smile. As Wang Wan spoke, she smiled. She thought of a joke from many years ago. There was a crosstalk comedian who said this. Bai Go frowned and said, "I'm not stupid. Why would I smile when I look at your money? You can ask your family to take out the money and put it in front of you. You will smile when you look at it." Wang Wan said. "Haha." Yao Chong laughed and patted Bai Go's shoulder. "You've been tricked by Cuckoo. Now, what we're talking about is not whether to smile when looking at the money, but whether His Majesty should be thrifty. His Majesty's money is earned by Xiao Bao. Without Xiao Bao, His Majesty will not be extravagant. If His Majesty is not extravagant, the officials will not imitate him. If the officials do not imitate him, the people will live in peace. According to Grandpa Yao, I deserve to die. But if His Majesty doesn't build houses, the officials don't build houses, and the people don't build houses either. No one has a house to live in. If His Majesty doesn't eat meat, everyone will be vegetarians. If His Majesty doesn't make new clothes, everyone in the Tang Empire will have to wear ragged clothes. In other words, my act of helping His Majesty earn money has allowed the people of the Tang Empire to live a good life." Zhang Xiaobao described himself as a good person according to Yao Chong's words. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Bai Shu and Yao Chong laughed again and nodded. "Xiaobao, you are right. It is because of you and Cuckoo that the people of the Tang Empire live a good life. Otherwise, why would the people treat you so well? Tell me about the solution to increase wages and solve the unbalanced distribution of resources." After joking, Bai Shu, who was in a better mood, asked another question that he did not understand. Zhang Xiaobao continued to shake his head. "I can't say. I have to wait for the imperial court to issue a decree. If I say it in advance, it will be easy for someone to take advantage of me. I can talk about the local arrangements first. Please listen and give me some advice." Li Longji, who was mentioned by Zhang Xiaobao and the others, was in the Hanyuan Palace, accompanied by Wu Huifei and Empress Wang. Li Longji was reading the memorials on the table in front of him while making comments. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei were reading a book. One was reading The Structure of Guns, while the other was reading The Function of a Bank. It was not that the three of them had come to a deserted place like the Hanyuan Palace to experience life, but that they had nowhere else to go. There was a huge construction project in the palace, and everyone was working at the same time. Not to mention the three of them, even the palace maids and eunuchs had no place to stay. Those who were on duty took a folding stool and found a place to rest. The officials sat on rattan chairs and wrote on the table in front of them. Occasionally, one of them would stand up, walk a few steps, and run to another rattan chair to report. "Your Majesty, what is the solution that Xiao Bao discussed with you? Tell me about it so that I can help you think about it. Wu Huifei covered her mouth and yawned. She asked Li Longji, who had just put down his brush. Sigh. You all came to ask me, but Xiao Bao didn't tell me at all. He was afraid that others would pester him, so he pushed me to the front. Why don't you believe me when I say that I don't know? Li Longji said helplessly. Wu Huifei didn't believe him. She asked coquettishly, Your Majesty, if you say that you don't know, then why did news spread from Xingqing Palace that you saw Xiao Bao's plan and said that it was a good plan? I was tricked by him. The words he wrote on the paper he handed me were like flowers, and there were only 4 words. This plan is a good plan. I was confused by it, so I read it out loud while guessing. Do you understand now? Wu Huifei had asked Li Longji 6 times already, so he had to explain. Wu Huifei nodded in shock. I understand now. Zhong Xiaobao is taking revenge. Your Majesty, you have been wronged. Sigh, righteousness, it's all for the sake of righteousness. Li Longji had a pained expression on his face. Chapter 1194. Li Longji had a sullen expression when he spoke, but then he blinked his eyes and smiled at Wu Huifei and Empress Wang, who were also looking at him. It's good to get used to it. Last time, I finally found a way to scheme against Xiao Bao. This method can still be used often. Let's not talk about the distance. As long as the price of goods in the capital fluctuates slightly, I will immediately order people to release the news. He definitely won't dare to stand out and deny it. Haha, thinking about it makes me happy. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang were helpless. The emperor seemed to become a different person when he met Xiao Bao. Even if he took advantage of him a little, he would still be happy. Your Majesty, where can we go to play this summer and autumn? Wu Huifei suddenly asked Li Longji. Li Longji muttered to himself for a moment and shook his head. I don't think we can go out this year. Haven't you noticed that the soldiers in various places are frequently mobilized? Other than the spring plowing that is still going on, the other industries are showing signs of stopping. I need to stay in the capital. Speaking of which, this concubine also doesn't understand. It's just fighting and eating. The imperial court has been training soldiers in the northwest for a long time. In addition, they have a large number of soldiers there. They can just force their way in. Why do they need to mobilize the soldiers of other provinces? The soldiers of the Jiangnan circuit are being mobilized, and they still need soldiers from other places to replenish them. Could it be that they want to fight Japan and Xinluo? Wu Huifei knew very little about military matters. When she recalled the past, she had never encountered a situation where the government troops of the interior followed them around when they were fighting a faraway land. If not for the fact that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, 2 people, did not take any action despite the fact that there were so many opportunities to assassinate them, she would have thought that they were going to rebel. Li Longji closed his eyes and didn't speak. It seemed that he didn't want to explain the national affairs clearly to the people in the palace. Wu Huifei could only look at Empress Wang. She had a chance to get rid of her and seize the position of the head of the harem. She was also protected by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo at that time. She was looking forward to getting some information from her. After all, she was born in a family of generals and had helped the emperor rebel. The current Empress Wang looked much weaker than before. Her skin was white and smooth, and her face was dignified. She gave people the impression that she was a normal woman guarding the harem. In fact, she was more and more fond of military affairs. This was because, according to Wang Wan, a woman who had nothing else to do would always be neglected by a busy man. A happy woman had to make her voice heard from time to time, especially around a man's career. Even if she said something wrong occasionally, it was fine. If you were by the emperor's side, you would need to know the military and know the politics. Otherwise, when the emperor made a wise decision and you were at a loss when he told you, wouldn't you be depriving the emperor of the opportunity to show off? Therefore, you must understand. Occasionally, you will make a mistake, or ask a few silly questions. The emperor will explain it to you, and you will naturally be in a good mood. Empress Wang deeply agreed with this theory. Therefore, Whenever there was a resolution in the imperial court, she would send a letter to Wang Wan for consultation, to obtain a solution, understand the method, and then use it on His Majesty when they were chatting in the palace. Seeing Wu Huifei look over, Empress Wang showed a warm smile. She put down the book in her hand and said to her, "You think the palace is boring? In the middle of summer, the large amusement park in the suburbs of the capital will open. Why don't you go with me? Most of them are children." "I won't go." Wu Huifei refused. If she went there, she would be surrounded by guards. Everyone knew her identity, so who would she play with? Looking at you is like looking at animals in a zoo. Then let's go to Sanshui County. It's safe there, and we don't have to worry about being surrounded. Empress Wang had just thought of this when she made a new suggestion. But His Majesty in the palace. Wu Huifei was moved, but she had other concerns. Empress Wang waved her hand indifferently and said, "It's fine. His Majesty has been busy recently, so he goes to sleep at night. Besides, there are other people looking after him." Empress Wang had learned this from Cuckoo. She said that you can't always be around a man. After a long time, the man will forget you. Find an opportunity to look at him for a while, then the man will find that a habit around him has been broken, then he will remember you. But you have to control the situation well. Don't let the man worry, otherwise he will easily run to other people to vent his thoughts. However, she still didn't understand why Cuckoo didn't want to be apart from Xiao Bao for a while. When Li Longji heard this, he stopped writing, raised his head, and said, "Go, go. Only when you get there will there be people who will sincerely communicate with you. The local roast duck has always been different from the ones outside. I will be very busy recently." Last night, the Ministry of Works sent news that the film that can be used to make this thing called movie has been successfully made. It is now being tested and played in sync with the sound. For the sake of the people of my dynasty, I can only work hard. I can't say how helpless I am. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei looked at the emperor's face that didn't show any helplessness. Instead, there was a faint excitement on his face. They hesitated again. They also wanted to work hard for the sake of the people of Tang. "Why don't we film it together?" Empress Wang suggested. "I'll test the water first. I'll put it in a few places in Tang and see the effect first." Li Longji planned to release his image first. Wu Huifei was helpless. She thought for a while and said, "I think the glass film that was used for Xiaobei and the others is very good. It has color. I heard Xiao Bao and Cuckoo say that the new thing called film has no color." Empress Wang said, "Cuckoo said that if you are willing, you can invest more. She and Xiao Bao will put in a lot of effort. Basically, it can be done in one step. However, it's not good for the researchers of the Ministry of Works. They can only walk and run when they have a firm footing." Cuckoo said that she and Xiao Bao know a lot of things. However, when it's used on the technicians, it can only guarantee that they won't take the wrong path. It won't let them fly directly. "Sister, you've been fooled by them. They are flying." "Sister, you don't know. A few days ago, when I asked Meow Meow to go to the Ministry of Works to ask for things to wash clothes, guess what she saw?" Wu Huifei asked with her eyes wide open. "What?" Empress Wang's eyes also widened. "Why did you go to the Ministry of Works to ask for things to wash clothes? Minister Zhang has good things there? My red clothes were stained with something green. It can't be washed off. It's my favorite one. Their family specially sent a few pieces to the palace. It's a pity to throw them away. I thought that the Ministry of Works should have a solution." Meow Meow went to Minister Zhang. Minister Zhang was busy with other things and gave Meow Meow a pass. Meow Meow entered the circle outside the Ministry of Works herself. "Did you wash off the things you brought?" Empress Wang asked expectantly. "I washed them off. The green ones were washed off, and the red ones were washed off as well. I can't wear them anymore. I plan to get someone to change my clothes." "Elder sister, this person is really strange. In the past, I didn't have much spare money. I always wanted to wear new clothes, as if wearing old ones was beneath my status. Now that I can't use up all my money, I don't care. It's fine as long as the clothes fit me. When I eat, I don't need to eat too many dishes. It's fine as long as they are delicious. Wu Huifei frowned when she talked about washing off the color of the clothes. However, when she talked about her own changes, she was enraptured. Empress Wang agreed. Yes, yes. According to Cuckoo, if you have money, you have confidence. If you have confidence, you can do whatever you want. Look at Xiao Bei's pants. Because he always runs around, he has a cut on his knee. He had someone sew a pocket on it. Now, many children wear pants with pockets sewn on their knees. Also, Xiao Bao's father, Zhong Shongshu, is always busy. Every day, he has to go to the Ministry of Works research area to change his original green clothes. His elbows are whitened. Thus, many people in Beijing wear green clothes. They don't look good at all. They even deliberately use things to whiten their elbows. Yes. Li Longji also interrupted. That's because no one thinks that the Zhong family and the Wang family can't afford to wear clothes. When Xiao Bei and the others eat outside, they pack up the leftovers and take them back. Who dares to look down on them? The poorer they are, the more generous they are. The more inferior they are, the more flamboyant they are. After lamenting, Li Longji thought of something important. He asked, in the future, you are not allowed to send people into the Ministry of Works research area, even the periphery. I'll talk to Zhang Zhong later. What did Miao Miao see over there? Yes, yes. Let's not talk about washing clothes first. Empress Wang also reacted. At the mention of this, Wu Huifei looked unhappy. It was as if someone owed her money and didn't want to return it. She frowned and said, Miao Miao saw something even more interesting than the telegram. Miao Miao said that when she greeted the people at the periphery and told them the reason, that person directly picked up something on the table and shouted, I'm the chief dispatcher of the Light Industry Materials Logistics Department. I want them to send a bottle of strong cleaning agent. Then, Miao Miao heard a voice saying, Understood. Not long after, a bottle of something was sent over. What is that thing? Empress Wang asked in shock. I don't know, but I definitely dare to say that that thing must be talking to someone else. We're using a telegram now, so how can it talk? There's only a ticking sound. Sister, do you think it flew or not? The telegram is already amazing enough, but there's actually something that can talk. Wu Huifei looked very depressed. Li Longji was also depressed. He lowered his head and thought about something. As he thought, he angrily threw his pen on the rack and shouted outside, Find that guy Zhong Zhong for me. The sound of running footsteps could be heard outside. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang weren't in the mood to read. They sat up straight and waited with Li Longji. If they didn't understand this matter, they wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. After waiting for a full 15 minutes, Zhong Zhong's small figure appeared at the bottom of the stairs outside the hall. As he got closer, his figure gradually grew bigger. The three people in the hall looked out at the same time and were stunned. They saw that Zhong Zhong, who was wearing tight work clothes today, had an extra big thing on his body. To be precise, there were two. One was in his hand, and the other was in front of his chest with a strap. There was also a microphone and a loudspeaker. As he walked, his mouth moved. When they reached the top of the stairs and stood in front of the door, Zhong Zhong looked at the three people apologetically and signaled for them to wait. I'll say it again. Don't fill up the small river behind. Don't. Put a big water tank next to it. Get the diesel generator and water pumping equipment ready. The warehouse in that place is very important. If it's burned, I'll cut off your heads. Over. After Zhong Zhong finished speaking, he pressed something on the box in front of his chest. 3 seconds later, a voice came from the loudspeaker hanging on his chest. We understand. We promise that we won't let the materials suffer any damage. We'll do as you say. Over. Zhong Zhong pressed something on the box in his hand again, and then on the box in front of his chest. After a while, he said into the loudspeaker, the materials are important, but the people are more important. If there's any danger, the people will run first. You can leave the materials behind. If you dare to save the materials and get into danger, I'll deal with your families. Don't think that I'm just scaring you. Alright, His Majesty is waiting for me. Over. After pressing something on the box in front of his chest again, Zhang Zhong let out a long breath. He then said to Li Longji, who was waiting in the hall, His Majesty, why did you summon me here? Chapter 1195. At this moment, Li Longji's eyes were fixed on the boxes in Zhang Zhong's hands and hanging in front of his chest. He didn't say a word. Your Majesty, Your Majesty? Your Majesty, are you feeling unwell? Zhang Zhong asked with concern. Li Longji exhaled deeply, shook his head, and waved at Zhang Zhong. Come forward. When Zhang Zhong was about 10 steps away from Li Longji looked at the two boxes again and asked, What were you doing just now? Zhang Zhong first placed the boxes in his hands on the ground, then placed the boxes hanging around his neck on the ground. He shook his arms and said helplessly, Isn't this a new project set up by the Research Institute? This place has just been built, and all kinds of materials have been piled together. I was afraid that they would accidentally damage them, so I had to remind them. These things are very important, and the production is very low. It is difficult to produce 1 out of every 100 pieces. You really can't stop worrying. I can't be too harsh with my words. If something really happens and they put themselves in danger to protect the item, Xiaobao and Huan will be worried to death. I'm asking what you said just now. Li Longji stopped talking about himself and asked anxiously. Just like that. Your Majesty, look. One is a radio transmitter, and the other is a semiconductor receiver. Zhang Zhong pointed at the two boxes. In other words, you can directly communicate with the Ministry of Works research base from Hanyuan Palace Hall? Li Longji asked again. Zhang Zhong nodded. Yes, it's very convenient. If you have any instructions, you can directly send it over. It's similar to a telegram, but a telegram can't be spoken. With this subject has been much less worried recently. Your Majesty, you don't know. Your Majesty, Your Majesty? What's wrong with you? Li Longji's face was ashen. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang were also fuming. For a moment, Zhang Zhong didn't know what to do. He wondered what he had done wrong to make His Majesty angry. But what did this have to do with the Empress and Wu Huifei? Who were they angry at? Your Majesty, let's talk business. Wu Huifei was the first to calm down. Li Longji nodded and rubbed his face. His complexion was much better now. He said to Zhang Zhong, Find a place to sit. Zhang Zhong did not stand on ceremony. Seeing that the nearest stool was more than 10 steps away, he decided to sit on the floor. He was wearing his work uniform anyway. Composing himself, Li Longji looked at Zhang Zhong and said, Yongqing, the Ministry of Works has been busy recently, and you have to worry about a lot of things. Thank you for your hard work. Your Majesty, this is what I have to do. It is not hard work. Although I am tired, I am willing to do it. Our dynasty's industry has just been established, our foundation is thin, we spend a lot of money, but the results are few. This subject is often worried that I will drag down the great Tang's industrial construction, so I once asked my son for advice. Xiao Bao consoled me and said, This is urgent, wait patiently, and you will know in the future. After Zhang Zhong finished speaking, he thought for a moment and then pressed a button on the box that he had been carrying earlier. Only when he heard the rustling sound from inside did he feel relieved. Li Longji and the other two followed Zhang Zhong's movements. Seeing that Zhang Zhong did not do anything else, they retracted their gazes. Yongqing, we have been thinking about Xiao Bei and the others for the past few days. Without them, we feel that there is a lot less fun around us. Li Longji mentioned Xiao Bei again. Zhang Zhong nodded. This subject's heart is also empty. Fortunately, there is Ji Xiang and Rui, who are noisy all day long. Together with Your Majesty's Panna siblings, my heart is at peace. Why don't we place them by Your Majesty's side? Leave them with you, leave them with you. Li Longji waved his hand as if they were not people, but objects. Seeing that the emperor had a sad expression, he said, "We can go over and take a look. There is a lot of construction going on in the palace, and there is no place to put them." "That's fine too." Zhang Zhong followed along. "Yongqing, when we talk about Xiao Bei and the others, can you guess what we remember? We remember when they were still young. At that time, we remember that they had a house. Am I right?" Li Longji seemed to be reminiscing. Zhang Zhong also revealed an expression of reminiscence and said with a smile, "That's right. At that time they were still young. They had a big house. It was only a single story, so it couldn't compare to an ordinary house. However, in terms of overall appearance, it was much better than an ordinary house. The entire house was made of agarwood." "Oh right, we remember now. Is the house well maintained?" Li Longji continued Zhang Zhong's words. "Good, it's very good." Zhang Zhong replied. "How could it not be good? The house was made of agarwood. If the entire house was sold, it would be equivalent to a third of the great Tang's national treasury 20 years ago. None of the pearls and other accessories inside were cheap. At the very least, there was so much transparent glass 20 years ago. Good, it's good that the house is still there. Back then, we weren't the only ones who thought that it was good. Long Zhe also thought that the little one's house wasn't bad. That house isn't ordinary. Other than the fact that it can't fly, it should be able to adapt to other terrains, right?" Li Longji continued to speak casually. Zhang Zhong was taken aback. He suddenly remembered who Long Zhe was. Bigu, that old man, was always eyeing his house. Not only did he eat and stay for free, he even made his son and daughter-in-law chat with him. "Is that so?" Li Longji asked. It's still all right. Actually, it can fly even if it wants to now. We just need to release more hot air balloons." Zhang Zhong's reply was very honest. Li Longji sighed heavily. "That's right. The little ones in your house are the luckiest. Ever since I was young, I've never had such a house. There are those who use agarwood to make tables, stools, paperweights, and all kinds of small ornaments. I've never heard of anyone using agarwood to make a house. This was especially so when I heard Long Zhe say that if one wanted to know the extent of Great Tang's technology, one only had to look at the houses of the children of Zhang Zhong and Wang. I know that as well, but I can't criticize the children. Thus, I can only bear with the fact that you didn't let me use the good technology. However, if you don't let me use the technology that you have already used, how can I feel good about it? Don't you think so?" Li Longji's final words were directed at Wu Huifei and Empress Wang. Empress Wang was too embarrassed to speak, so she only replied with an "un." Wu Huifei didn't care too much and sighed as well. Speaking of which, this concubine's heart aches the most for the eunuchs and palace maids in the palace. The new eunuchs are all congenital castrated, unlike in the past where the parents had to abandon their children. Now, the eunuchs in the family aren't thrown away but sent to the palace instead. As for the palace maids, they are the ladies of normal families, so who wouldn't feel bad for them? However, they have to run far away just because of a decree from His Majesty or to summon a certain official. More importantly, if there's an emergency, wouldn't it be too late for them to run over and wait for the official to arrive? If a certain palace maid suddenly fell ill and couldn't breathe properly, she would need an imperial physician. If there's a delay, she might lose her life. Am I right? After Wu Huifei finished speaking, the three of them all looked at Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong nodded vigorously and understood. When his son and daughter-in-law arrived in Feng province and saw the technicians, they remembered how difficult it was for them to communicate with the Ministry of Works. They had temporarily used various tools on the ship to make a telephone and a radio transmitter and receiver. The Ministry of Works hadn't thoroughly researched them yet, so they were discovered by His Majesty first. Moving the two boxes forward, Zhang Zhong pointed at the one that had been hung in front of him and said, "This is a receiver that mainly uses semiconductors." He then pointed at the other one and said, "This is a radio transmitter. The principle is to first fix the frequency and then send out the radio. Someone in the Ministry of Works research base uses semiconductors to receive it. To prevent signal interference, I turn off the radio and turn on the semiconductor receiver. The Ministry of Works research base sends out the radio and I receive it. As for the specific principle, to be honest, I don't know. It was made in Feng province by my son and Cuckoo. There are only 2 sets. In addition, there is also a type of telephone. It is wired. Wherever it goes, the sound will go. The prerequisite is that there is electricity. When I go back, I will first pull the phone line over. Your Majesty, you don't need the wireless radio because there are too few channels. If too many people use it, it will easily leak secrets. After the introduction, Zhong Zhong let out a sigh of relief. He thought it was something big, but it turned out that it was just a communication tool. He didn't find it troublesome to go around in a big circle. Treasure. Li Longji got up and walked in front of the box. He reached out and touched the buttons, but he didn't dare to touch them. He was afraid that he would accidentally break them. It must be very difficult for the people in the Ministry of Works research base to make such a miraculous object, right? Li Longji imagined himself as a researcher. For a moment, he didn't know where to start. He didn't even dare to think about it. It was made by my son and Cuckoo, Zhong Zhong reminded him. My son? Yes, he is very bad. Since he could do it, why did he make it for you and not me? If Li She knew, he would be very sad. Has the Ministry of Works made it as well? Li Longji pulled someone who wasn't present to blame Zhang Xiaobao. Zhong Zhong shook his head regretfully. The technicians can only piece the parts together, but they don't understand the principles behind it. When Xiaobao and Cuckoo sent it over a few days ago, the technicians realized that the triode could be used for communication. They still have a lot to learn. As he spoke, Zhong Zhong began to worry. The people in the Ministry of Works were very hard-working, but no matter how hard they learned, they couldn't keep up with Xiaobao and Cuckoo's demands. From time to time, the 2 of them would send over some information and research ideas to guide and inspire the technicians. Li Longji reluctantly retracted his hand. Since Xiaobao and Cuckoo can make it, why didn't they do it earlier? They waited until you needed it before they were willing to do it. What benefit does it bring to Great Tang? Your Majesty, the 2 of them are also slowly researching it. Cuckoo is the one who put in the most effort. Furthermore, their research needs the support of other people's research. If they can't forge good steel, they can't propose to build diesel engines. If they can't solve the problem of spark plugs, how can gasoline engines be ignited? They took out a bunch of ideas and requirements for the researchers to study and create things. They then proposed new ideas and requirements based on the new things that appeared. Xiao Bao said that the current wireless communication can be simpler, but he and Cuckoo can't do it. They have to wait for the Ministry of Works to understand the technology. Then, they will issue a guideline and let the researchers do it. The industry isn't something that can be solved by 1 or 2 people. After saying this, Zhong Zhong felt thirsty. He looked up and saw a cup of herbal tea on the table. He walked over and drank it in one gulp. He wiped his mouth and said, "It's actually Tiguanyin. If I had known, I wouldn't have drunk it. It's easy to get a stomachache." Li Longji lowered his head and pondered, ignoring Zhong Zhong who drank his tea. Empress Wang, on the other hand, signaled to the palace maid standing at the door and asked her to bring Longjing tea. When the new tea was brought, Li Longji took a cup and said, "It's really hard on Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. If it weren't for other people, they would have taken flight long ago. Why do they have to stop and wait for every step they take? Just like the futuristic military stories Cuckoo wrote, there's a country thousands of miles away that provokes me. I just need to sit in the hall and there's something like a movie in front of me, and I can see that country. Then, I reach out and point. Half an hour later, that country is in a sea of fire. No one is left alive, not even a blade of grass." "Yes, yes." Empress Wang also said excitedly. He also said that someone from another country stabbed our Chao Zimin in the Tang Empire. Our Chao Zimin took out something from his pocket and instantly contacted His Majesty, saying that he had been stabbed. While His Majesty sent people to treat him, he tapped on the screen in front of him and found that the person had just rowed a boat and escaped into the sea. His Majesty tapped on the screen, and a pillar of light shone down from the 9 heavens. Both the person and the boat disappeared. This is a true attacker, able to move above the 9 heavens. Unfortunately, this is all a dream. The thing that person took out could be contacted instantly, unless... At this point, Empress Wang was stunned. Li Longji and Wu Huifei were also stunned. Their eyes were fixed on the 2 boxes on the ground, and then they turned to look at Zhang Zhong, who was about to drink his tea. Zhang Zhong also stopped what he was doing and swallowed hard. Could it be? Could it be? Chapter 1196. Zhang Zhong didn't say what it was. Li Longji and the other 2 felt chills run down their spines. This was especially true for Li Longji, whose heart had turned cold. He had always been told that there was a country that was very powerful. In the beginning, he had his doubts, but as the hot air balloons, telegraph machines, cannons, steam engines, diesel engines, and gasoline engines were produced, he began to believe it. But today, when he joked about the story that 2 people had once told him, he saw the wireless communication box in front of him, and a special sense of urgency began to grow in his heart. He couldn't help but look up at the sky and murmur, "Orders come from thousands of li away, attacks come from above the 9 heavens. This is not a story. Definitely not. I'll have someone get the phone line immediately. In the future, working in the palace will be much more convenient." Zhang Zhong put down his teacup and crouched down to turn on the radio. Li Longji grabbed Zhang Zhong's hand and said earnestly, "Yongqing, while you're at it, tell the technicians in the Ministry of Works to work harder. Tell them to follow in the footsteps of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. We'll give them promotions. We don't want to be beaten without being able to retaliate one day. At the very least, we should be able to defend ourselves." Zhang Zhong said awkwardly, "Your Majesty, do you think that's possible?" In his heart, his son and daughter-in-law were little immortals bestowed upon him by the heavens. Who could follow in the footsteps of immortals? If they can follow in the footsteps, then it's better than nothing. Are those 2 people in your family willing to raise a few more children like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo? Li Longji asked expectantly. Xiao Bei, Xiao Yuan, and the others can't? Zhang Zhong knew what the emperor was talking about. The excuse that his family used to deceive outsiders was something that the outsiders came up with themselves. Li Longji had a bitter taste in his mouth, and the wrinkles on his face piled up. He said, "The little guys are powerful, but compared to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they're not even close. When Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were at Xiao Bei's age, they were, right? Then, Your Majesty, how many children like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo do you think our great Tang can choose from?" Zhang Zhong asked in embarrassment. "One. I can't even choose one." Zhang Zhong, why didn't your families have 8 children each? You count the days, count them carefully. The time they were born and the time I ascended the throne, were they bestowed by the heavens? Even if you gave birth to 2 children at once, it would still be better than now. You only gave birth to 1, just 1. It's all because your families reduced the number of treasures that the heavens bestowed upon me. Do you admit your sins? Li Longji grabbed Zhang Zhong's hand and roared. I admit my sins. This subject admits his sins. Your Majesty, please calm down. This subject will have someone set up a phone line and relay your decree. Zhang Zhong was frightened and hurriedly comforted him. Now was not the time to argue about who was bestowed the treasure. After venting his anger, Li Longji calmed down and let go of Zhang Zhong's hand. He nodded. The 3 of them watched as Zhang Zhong contacted the research institute and relayed the order. They were still in a daze. Your Majesty, this subject still has some documents to write. If there's nothing else, this subject will take his leave. Zhang Zhong pointed at the door. Go. Thank you, Minister Zhang. Li Longji waved his hand and watched as Zhang Zhong rehung the box and sent it out of the hall. Only when Zhang Zhong's figure disappeared from the range of Hanyuan Palace Hall did he turn around and walk to the back of the table. He collapsed into a chair. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang were speechless. Worry could be seen on their faces. The hall was silent for half an hour before Li Longji's voice sounded, "What time is it?" Empress Wang raised her wrist and looked at the mechanical watch on it. She replied, "It's 1:15 noon. No wonder you're hungry. Let's go to Savant's restaurant. This emperor wants to eat the Mandarin duck pot." Li Longji didn't want to eat in the palace. He rubbed his stomach and got up to leave. Wu Huifei followed up and asked, "What side dishes does your majesty need? This concubine will order someone first. Just make 2 cold plates, not too much. It would be a pity to throw them away if we can't finish them. I wonder what Xiao Bao and the others ate for lunch? Longzi and Yuanji should have arrived by now." Li Longji suddenly thought of what others ate. Wu Huifei nodded. If they really arrived, they would definitely eat fish at noon. They caught it themselves. "Your Majesty, they have already retired, but they still have to organize people to gather intelligence. If this goes on for a long time, I'm afraid it will shake their foundation." Empress Wang cooperated and said, "Exactly. If we don't restrict them, they will bring disaster to the world." "It doesn't matter. They are now collecting economic information. This emperor can still use them. Bring disaster to the world? Could it be that they dare to rebel? If someone really wants to use their intelligence to do something bad, I don't even need to say anything. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will directly put them on Zhuke Street. If they want to rebel, they can't do it alone, right? If they need an army, logistics, and incite the people, do you think that with the reputation of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, which people will follow them? The matter of the 2 Taoists in Jiangnan has just passed. Even if there are people who don't care about their good, they have to consider their ruthlessness." Li Longji didn't care. Compared to an attack from thousands of miles away, a mere economic intelligence organization was nothing. With only 100 or so Jinwu guards, Li Longji, Wu Huifei, and Empress Wang slowly strolled to Savant's restaurant. Along the way, they kept waving at the people. Then, they felt that it was a waste to bring more than 100 guards because the people consciously stood 50 steps away from them. At the same time, they looked at the people around them vigilantly. They didn't walk forward, but they also stopped others from coming forward to avoid hurting the emperor. The only people Li Longji came in contact with were 2 children who squeezed in. He hugged them and kissed them, and they were considered close to the people. "With so many people, if anyone wants to rebel, I will tire them to death." Sitting at the table, Li Longji said proudly. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei nodded in agreement. It was indeed not easy to rebel. At this time, the hot pot was also served. The exhaust fan was turned on, and the charcoal was burned. The chicken soup and the seafood base looked clear, but the smell of the soup filled the air. On the other side was bright red chili, and the fragrance was rich. 8 large basins filled with cold dishes were placed at the side, and 8 large plates were placed on the table. Li Longji was about to say that it was a waste, but he suddenly understood that they asked you to use a plate to fill the big basins. "Look in the world, only their restaurant dares to ask me to do it myself." Li Longji picked up a plate and began to choose the cold dishes. It's only comfortable to eat in their restaurant. Empress Wang also picked up a plate. If only Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were here. There are hundreds of seasonings, and it's really difficult to choose. If Xiao Bao was here, he would help to adjust the seasonings according to the season and climate. It's lively with a group of little guys, but what about Panner and the others? Wu Huifei couldn't sit and wait for the emperor to work, so she stood up and picked wine from the wine cabinet. She said a few words and asked Empress Wang's children. The waiter standing at the door immediately replied, "They have eaten and are sleeping." "Have your masters eaten the Mandarin duck pot recently?" "The masters have eaten it, but the madams haven't. They need to nurse the children." "What sauce are you using?" After the waiter left, the head butler of the Zhang family came in with a tray with a large bowl of sauce and 3 small cans. He put them on the table and said, "The little master deliberately made this sauce before he left and froze it. He said that if you eat the Mandarin duck pot or hot pot at this time of the year, this sauce will definitely not be heaty. If you feel that the sauce is not fresh enough, don't add oyster sauce. It's too salty. There are canned caviar. Li Longji chuckled. You actually dare to hide it. Fortunately, my beloved concubine asked. If the strong men were here, I don't believe that they wouldn't take the initiative to take it out. You can leave. I won't reward you even if you stand here for a day. Your Majesty, Empress, and Your Highness, please enjoy. The butler bowed and left. It's not easy to eat hot food outside. Li Longji and Empress Wang put the cold dishes on the table and sighed. The reason why the head butler of the Zhang family came just now was because of the sauce. Previously, everything in the house had been checked. There were also people watching the kitchen in case something went wrong. Empress Wang took the wine from Wu Huifei and poured it for Li Longji first. She said, "Why don't we call the strong men here? He's busy with the construction of the palace. It's very tiring for him. Forget it. If he comes, he'll have to serve us. He has others to serve him in the palace. Let him rest. Today, it's just our family eating." As soon as Li Longji finished speaking, he raised his head and drank half a cup of wine. The three of them ate a few mouthfuls of food. With food in their stomachs, they began to chat. I still feel that it's messy to transfer troops from all over the country. I can't guess what they want to do. Wu Huifei still didn't forget about the previous matter. Li Longji didn't have any intention of answering. He peeled the boiled edamame that shouldn't be there in this season and swept his eyes across the various dishes to choose. Empress Wang only cared about etiquette in front of others. Now that there were no outsiders, she chewed the mutton in her mouth and said in a muffled voice, "Sister, don't worry. They definitely won't go to Xinluo or Japan. Xinluo doesn't have any fighting power, and Japan is even more useless. I think they want the Tang Empire to train their troops, especially the navy. They might be of use in the future. For example, they can patrol along the shore and help protect the merchants of our dynasty. As long as they are within the range of the cannons, they will be safe. When the time comes, hundreds of gunships will be deployed and rush out, together with the troop carriers." Empress Wang paused. Li Longji also stopped peeling the edamame. Wu Huifei looked around and hurriedly drank a mouthful of wine. She said loudly to Empress Wang, "Sister, why don't we go to the Research Institute of the Ministry of Works later? I remember that Xiao Bao said that other than movies, there are also cameras, the kind that take pictures of people. It's as if it's real." Yes, we have to go. We have to go. Where's His Majesty?" Empress Wang also said loudly, "Let's go together. Throw 2 prawns in. They're not fresh prawns." Li Longji also drank a mouthful of wine. Empress Wang helped to put the prawns in the pot and said, "They are prawns from last year. They are specially frozen. There are seeds and drunken crabs in them. They are slightly yellow." "Good, it's good that there are seeds. It seems that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo can grow vegetables that are out of season, but they can't grow prawns and crabs that are out of season." Li Longji waited for the prawns to slowly turn red. "In my opinion, they find it troublesome and don't have the time to care. They can already grow fungus and ginseng. They are quite capable," Wu Huifei said as she put down her chopsticks. Li Longji picked up a cooked prawn. As he peeled the shell, he lowered his voice and said, "Of course they are capable. They even dared to hide it from me. I was wondering why they were so carefree. It was as if they were traveling. Instead of actively preparing for war, they went to visit relatives. If Duoshe can defend, I dare to give them the technology of the cannon." Chapter 1197. Eat fish, eat fish. Lunch was later than usual. The old men who had been eating more than usual were hungry. As soon as they sat down, Baigo couldn't wait to pick up his chopsticks and eat the meat in the pot. Zhang Xiaobao's main dish was also hot pot, fish head pot, but there was a lot of fish in it. The 2 old men ate the meat. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan each scooped a bowl of fish soup and ate with steamed buns. They didn't seem to have much of an appetite. If it weren't for their normal expressions, people would think that they had something on their minds. After a few mouthfuls of meat, Bai Go felt better. He smiled at Zhang Xiaobao and praised, "It's delicious. When it comes to fish, Xiaobao's cooking is more authentic. Let's continue to eat fish tonight. Let's eat fried fish, salted fish, and some cornmeal pancakes." "Okay, I'll make salted fish, cornmeal pancakes, and wild vegetable egg soup tonight." Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Since the old men were here, he had to serve them well. Even if she was stopped by an old man she didn't know on the street and asked her to cook something for him, she would still cook for him, let alone someone she had known for many years. Yao Chong didn't say anything, but his chopsticks kept moving. He tasted every dish and chose the one that he liked the most. As Bai Go ate, he finally realized that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were different from before. The two of them kept exchanging glances while eating. Although he didn't know what they were talking about, it must be something difficult. After eating a few more mouthfuls, Bai Go stopped and looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Yao Chong. When the two of them looked back, he said, "Xiaobao, it's normal for the two of you to be busy, but there's no end to it. When you need to rest, rest. When it's time to eat, eat. If there's any trouble, tell us and we can solve it together. The whole country is behind you." "Grandpa Bai, you're right. We have a small problem. We can't solve it in a year because we've taken too much manpower and resources. As time goes by, other countries may have other ideas. We're considering whether to put pressure on them or appease them with resources. Against Duoshe, we want to fight, grind, attack the heart, and seize it. 4 years." Zhang Xiaobao did not keep it a secret from the two old men and told them the steps of the strategy. Yao Chong also put down his chopsticks and looked at Bai Go, waiting for the two to explain how they were going to play these 4 years. Wang Wan explained, "Fighting is to be ruthless at the start of the war, before the food harvest. At that time, they are most lacking in food and have no choice but to provide support to the front line. We'll fight until next summer and then retreat to the places we can occupy this winter to shorten the supply line." The two old men nodded at first, but then they both fretted. "Cuckoo, you don't want to advance quickly. Instead, you want to advance on all fronts. Fighting a battle of annihilation instead of attacking a route or penetrating deep into the enemy's rear. It will consume a lot of resources. Why don't we use our weapon advantage to attack the enemy's core city and capture their leader?" Bai Go believed that it would be best for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to launch the lightning battle mentioned in the textbooks, exchanging time for space. Now it seemed that the two wanted to slowly advance all fronts, giving the enemy time to gather their troops and play positional warfare. If someone else said this with a sharp weapon, he would have already cursed. Now that it was from Cuckoo, he needed to think carefully. Cuckoo had written many military textbooks, specializing in distinguishing all kinds of war situations. Strategic and tactical, everything. He believed that she would not make the wrong judgment and decision. Yao Chong's gaze fell on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's faces. He reached out a hand and touched a steamed bun, bringing it to his mouth without blinking. They are a religious country. Their land area is large and their faith is firm. It's easy to destroy their upper power structure. We don't even need to send too many planes. Find a place with low mountains, take a detour, and send hot air balloon troops to fight special forces. Wang Wan explained, full of confidence. This was the confidence of having the ability to transport troops in the air. Especially for the first use, it was guaranteed to succeed. Zhang Xiaobao continued, but we can't. This is the characteristic of a religious country. It's not a problem for some people to die. Soon, there will be leaders in various places. At that time, their resistance will be very tenacious. In order to get more follower support, they will make the decision to stop the Tang Empire's army. There is another possibility. They are all independent, and we can destroy them one by one. We don't dare to gamble, and there is no need to gamble. With the Tang Empire's army, which country can't we bully now? We mainly want to pay less and get higher returns. Wang Wan finished eating the steamed bun and signaled to Zhang Xiaobao, who had just drunk 2 mouthfuls of soup, to continue. Zhang Xiaobao quickly swallowed the soup. War is not the goal. The goal is to get something. My idea is the simplest. I have to make a lot of money in a war. It's not worth it without me. It's hard to get proportional to the cost. Destroy their will and make it easier for me to plunder. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao also ate in big mouthfuls of food, giving the 2 old men time to think. The situation at the table changed. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ate happily, but the 2 old men began to frown. They looked at each other and thought hard, analyzing Zhang Xiaobao's character. At the same time, they thought that Zhang Xiaobao's support for war was not for long-term benefits. Perhaps he had such a plan, but he would not give up short-term benefits. What he needed was to take advantage of the situation while fighting. After the war, he would first recover the cost of starting the war. When the dust settled, he was guaranteed to make a lot of money. Otherwise, with his talent, it would be better to use it to improve the lives of the people in the country. Good, slowly push. I agree. Bai Su spoke first. Fighting for a year is pushing for a year. What is the purpose of grinding? Grinding is to take a big step back and carry out low-intensity small group battles. Our army can take this opportunity to rotate and recuperate. At the same time, we can continue to train our soldiers. We can take small victories to big victories and eat away at tactics. The young generals can follow along and learn. The people will unite for the honor and dignity of the great Tang and work hard. Seeing that Wang Wan was still eating, Zhang Xiaobao could only say it himself. When he talked about the people working hard, he deliberately emphasized it. The 2 old men nodded in agreement. They understood this. As long as the front lines were not defeated, the people at the back would be very happy and work hard. The propaganda would be that the mighty army of the great Tang was all thanks to your support in the rear, and there would be no more conflicts. They would even say that it didn't matter if the betrothal gifts were a little smaller. As long as the great Tang army had a common goal, they could get married. Yao Chong finally spoke. 2 years is too long for the people of Duo who are always unable to drive the enemy out of their country and achieve victory. At that time, you can use other methods to shake the belief of the people in your religion and achieve the final victory in one fell swoop. Xiao Bao must be using economic methods, Bai Su said with certainty. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Yes, I plan to use shrapnel and bullets to exchange for food. After a year of fighting, they will not have enough food. When we retreat, the shrapnel and bullets will be left at the front. I will use food to exchange with their people. If they can find good ores, I am even willing to use canned food to exchange. What a vicious plan. Bai Su shivered. He had already thought of the result. In order not to starve to death or eat canned food, the local people would definitely collect shrapnel and mine ores to exchange for food. But these things would be made into weapons that would take the lives of their soldiers. Would the ruling class stop them or condone them? Stopping them would intensify the internal conflict. Condoning them would chill the hearts of the frontline soldiers. At that time, the soldiers' food would come from the hands of the people. The people would use things to exchange. If the soldiers stopped, the people would not give the soldiers food. The soldiers would steal the food of the people. This was a dead end. Xiao Bao is also planning to pile up the enemy's corpses and start a plague battle. Then, he will use medicine to exchange for food. Wang Wan was already full and added. The 2 old men's teeth were numb and sour. It was obvious that they did not have enough blood. This plan goes against the heavens, Yao Chong said as he rubbed his face with his hands. Whose heavens? Our Tang Empire is at the right time, right place, and right people. Isn't it just a biological war? Zhang Xiaobao said indifferently. Then, he muttered in a voice that only Wang Wan could hear, poison gas bombs, bacterial bombs, napalm bombs, depleted uranium bombs, dum-dum bombs, cluster bombs, non-metal mines, and atomic bombs. Who doesn't use them? Wang Wan did not say anything. She knew that Zhang Xiaobao was just casually saying that. Even if others did not use them, he would use them if he could. Don't expect to use morality, humanity, or righteousness to restrain him. He did not care. Of course, he did not care either. He would only follow the rules if others joined forces to beat him. Otherwise, he would beat whoever dared to oppose him. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao's firm attitude, the two old men did not try to persuade him. Yao Chong suggested, "Let them have fewer people die. It is also good for us to catch more slaves. I have this plan. It depends on the actual situation. If they can help us do a good job, why take more lives? I want to build more smelting workshops in the local area, refine steel, build railway tracks, and build a railway. We just need people to fill in." Zhang Xiaobao accepted this indirect persuasion. He was not killing for the sake of killing. That was crazy. Now we are worried about Japan and Xinluo. Wang Wan brought up the previous matter again. Xinluo has your garrison nearby, and Japan also has our gunships. What's there to worry about? Bai Shu pointed to the northeast. There were elite troops there. Otherwise, why did the ministers in the imperial court recognize the powerful existence of the Zhang family and the Wang family? It was because if Shuzhou and Sanshui County were easy to take down, Luzhou, Tubo, northern Hebei province, and Feng province were all hoarded by the Zhang family and the Wang family. Zhang Xiaobao shrugged and spread his hands. No, the gunships and garrison are not there. The large transport ships are also gone. Where did they go? Bai Shu and Yao Chong exclaimed at the same time. They used them. What about Xinluo and Japan? Zhang Xiaobao gave a very rogue answer. It's easy. Don't appease or suppress them. Let His Majesty issue an edict and invite them to come to Tang for exchanges. From agriculture to industry, from military to economy, from literature and art to sports. We can first provide them with a detailed introduction and tell them what to exchange. Let their ruling class come over. We will provide food and accommodation. Bai Shu came up with an idea. Yao Chong agreed. Our country is big. Let them wander around. Do we have any advanced weapons? We can scare them while we are at it. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan thought about it together. After exchanging glances, Zhang Xiaobao said, "Yes, cover the outside of the diesel engine with metal sheets, and put the thing under the house that Xiao Bei and the others used when they first came here. We call it a track. I'll ask the Ministry of Works to make a few more and send them to Duoshi to test the water." What exactly is that thing? What about the gunships and the soldiers of Hebei province? Bai Shu still had a lot of doubts. Zhang Xiaobao still shrugged and spread his hands. Not to mention Hebei province, the original soldiers of Hunan province, Deng province, and Lai province are also gone. The naval forces of Huainan province and Jiangnan province are also gone. Only the naval forces of Jiangxi province are left to guard the capital. Chapter 1198. A few days later, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still leisurely spending their vacation in Yizhou with a group of retired old men. They hunted in the mountains and fished in the water, living a very comfortable life. Xiao Bei and the 9 children had yet to return to Wanshan County, but the situation in the county had changed. Wang Chang's family was escorted to Yizhou and handed over to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. After a short period of training, they were sent to Duoshi to study the eating habits of the locals. At the same time, they were to create new dishes in preparation for the next step of the soft invasion. Objectively speaking, Wang Chang was unwilling to go. Not only was it tiring, but it was also dangerous. Objectively speaking, he did not dare to not go. When he was the county magistrate, he did not do what a county magistrate should do. To put it lightly, he was not capable enough and was not suitable for the position of county magistrate. To put it bluntly, he was clearly derelict in his duties. He did not care about the lives and happiness of the county's people. He did not care about the laws and regulations that the imperial court valued. His actions even shook the country's rule over the area. With such a heavy accusation, Wang Chong thought about his mother, wife, and children and happily agreed to the job of researching food. Most importantly, his family could continue to live in Yizhou City. The restaurants would deliver food to them. Wanshan's Gongsun Weiyu smoothly took over the position of county magistrate. The imperial court's letter of appointment had already left the capital and would arrive in the county in a few days. With power in his hands, Gongsun Weiyu relied on Xiao Bei and the others to start cleaning up the disobedient people in the yamen and promoting his own people. Even the authority of the registrar was given out. The people who were being cleaned up did not dare to speak out. They did not even dare to be angry. Without any restraints, Gongsun Weiyu governed according to his own administrative philosophy. A series of decrees were passed out, and the county's people followed suit. Xiao Bei and the others did not stay idle. Although they said they were going for a stroll, they actually ran to the place where Gongsun Weiyu wanted to build the cement factory. They first built the cement kiln and then started to burn the cement. When Xiao Bei brought the finished cement sample to Gongsun Weiyu was stunned. He then said worriedly, "There is a technique to burn cement. You can't just look at the finished product. You also have to protect the person who burns the cement. If you directly build it, it will be easy for something to happen." What happened? Little Bei looked up and asked. The first is the quality of the finished product, the second is the safety, and the third is the transportation. These 3 points cannot be reduced. I am currently waiting for the imperial court to send someone over. Gongsun Weiyu sighed and said helplessly. Xiao Bei carefully looked at Gongsun Weiyu and asked, "Have you become muddle-headed from being a county magistrate? You're asking the imperial court for technology?" Gongsun Weiyu nodded. "That's right." "Why do you care which part of the imperial court needs technology?" Xiao Bei asked again. "Ministry of Works," Gongsun Weiyu answered. "Who am I?" Xiao Bei asked. "Zhang Xiao Bei. I'm the daughter of the Minister of Works. The cement was made by my family in Luzhou. You asked the Ministry of Works for technical support, but you're questioning me. County Magistrate Gongsun, you should rest for 2 days. Don't overwork your brain." Compared to Gongsun Weiyu's helplessness earlier, Xiao Bei was even more helpless now. She pointed at the cement on the table and said, "3 days later, we'll gather a batch of cement and bring it out. We'll help the county promote it. You should consider the transportation problem. The stability of ships traveling by water is very important. If we're traveling by land, I've already experienced the joy of hiking mountains. If you want to build roads, we can support you with a batch of explosives." Gongsun Weiyu blushed and nodded repeatedly. The main reason was that the imperial court had been promoting the Ministry of Works vigorously in recent years. Many people had forgotten where the source of technology was. The truth was that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had their own research institute. All large-scale research projects were placed in the Ministry of Works. All small-scale research projects were carried out at home. It was convenient for the two of them to monitor the progress at any time. They could also guide and teach. 3 days later, Little Bei and the others planned to leave after the cement kiln produced a batch of cement that they could take with them. Before leaving, they treated all the children in the school to a meal. They had been eating in the school's cafeteria for the past few days. To them, the taste was very bad, but they still persevered. During the meal, they didn't mention leaving. Only when the children were full and constantly reminiscing about the delicious food that Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan had treated them to did Xiao Bei mention that they were leaving Wenshan. The children were stunned for a moment, then began to cry. The 9 people kept comforting them, saying that when the children grew up, they could come and play with them, or they could come over when they had time. After a while, the children finally realized that no matter how much they urged Xiao Bei and the others to stay, they had to leave. One by one, they began to prepare gifts. There were small wooden swords that they had cut themselves, bags made of rags, sachets filled with local medicinal herbs, and beautiful feathers from the pheasant's tail. Xiao Bei and the others didn't stand on ceremony. They accepted the gifts from others and hugged them goodbye. After being sent to the road outside the county, the children had to go back. Next was the gifts from the adults. In addition to the cement that they helped transport, there were also local specialties from the county: waxed meat from home, air-dried pheasants, fried noodles made of butter, and large amounts of century eggs and duck meat. The poor Wanshan County citizens gave almost everything they had. Xiao Bei and the others accepted all of it, but they didn't send anything back for the time being. They were waiting to sell the cement and spend more money elsewhere to buy other daily necessities before getting someone to send them back. They walked and stopped from noon until they reached the border of Wanshan County at night. Gongsun Weiyu stopped the people who wanted to continue sending them off. He stood on the flat ground, intending to watch Xiao Bei's group disappear from sight. Xiao Bei walked more than 100 meters before turning around and returning. He said to the puzzled Gongsun Weiyu, "I thought of something. During my days in the county, I realized that everyone's lighting wasn't good enough." Gongsun Weiyu suddenly understood and asked, "You want to build a power plant in this county and send light bulbs? What are you thinking about? Just wait and see if there's a chance in a few years. I see that everyone uses resin oil and fat oil. Some people even rest at night when it's dark. The children's lights are harmful to their eyes. Arrange for someone to make candlesticks now. I want to send 100,000 sticks of paraffin wax over," Xiao Bei said. Paraffin wax? Used by the rich and powerful in the capital? Gongsun Weiyu didn't understand paraffin wax. The rich and powerful in the capital use light bulbs. The cost of paraffin wax is very low, and it's a very depressing byproduct. The people in the petrochemical department of the Ministry of Works are constantly fighting with paraffin wax. It's like the ash left behind after burning charcoal in a kiln. It needs to be cleaned up. If we have to talk about cost, it's the transportation cost. Recently, oil processing has increased, so there's a lot of paraffin wax in the capital. We've discussed and decided to leave a small portion for other places to use. We'll buy the rest and ship it over here. We'll send 100,000 sticks to Wanshan County." Xiao Bei explained to Gongsun Weiyu like a good teacher. Gongsun Weiyu pondered for a moment before saying worriedly, "It's too far to ship it from the capital. It's easy for the candles to break on the bumpy road. Also, the cost of transporting and buying them isn't small. Have you discussed this with young Master Xiao Bao?" "What's there to discuss? It's our own money. We can use it however we want. Why would we look for my brother and sister for such a trivial matter? Also, who told you that the paraffin wax is shipped over one stick at a time? It's buckets at a time. If it wasn't for the fact that the weather is too hot, we could have just piled it up and shipped it over. Once it's shipped over, our new processing workshop will be ready. We can provide work for some people, especially the women who can't find work at home." Xiao Bei realized that he was really smart. He knew a lot of things that Gongsun Weiyu didn't know. Gongsun Weiyu continued to have an expression of being taught. He pondered and said expectantly, "Can we move the processing area to Wanshan County? We have the manpower, and the price is low." "Don't count on it. Unless you can build a spacious road and solve the problem of animal labor. Remember to make a wax stand. The bottom is like a small bowl. It can catch the excess melted wax. It won't be wasted and is easy to clean. Bamboo is good, but it needs to be polished smooth. It's best if there's a buckle at the bottom that can be easily replaced." Xiao Bei reminded him again, then shook his head. He seemed to think that Gongsun Weiyu was a child who couldn't be taught. The other Yamen officials and commoners beside Gongsun Weiyu also felt that the usually smart official had become stupid today. If it was another high-ranking official, they would probably be angry. It was said that high-ranking officials had bad tempers. Gongsun Weiyu had indeed become stupid. He felt that there was no need to be anxious about what Xiao Bei said, so he suggested, "There are other things to do in the county. It's easy to make wax stands. Why don't we wait until it's shipped to the county? There's no rush for now. If you insist on making us do it now, we will do it." At this time, Xiao Yuan, who had followed behind, was unhappy. "It's as if we are forcing you. We want to ship a lot of paraffin wax. You only think about your own county's use and not others. My Xiao Bei wants you to organize people to make a lot of wax stands, then ship them out from the river and sell them outside. As soon as our wax arrives, we will immediately make a lot of candles. Before others can react, our county can ship out a batch of wax stands and sell them directly. The more exquisite, nimble, and convenient you make them, the higher the price. Isn't it good to seize the opportunity to earn a sum of money and make a name for Wenshan County's reputation? I'm now wondering how you graduated from Jianjia Academy. You actually missed the opportunity to make a fortune. How did I become yours? Xiao Bei glared at Xiao Yuan, then turned to Gong Sun Weiyu and said, You have to be flexible. You have to be flexible as an official. You have to be like a child who dares to fantasize. You have to be as strict as a craftsman. You have to be like an opportunist looking for opportunities. Our dynasty's development is not bad, but there are two problems with officials. First, local officials only understand the local situation, but don't understand the new way of thinking. They don't know how to change, and don't even think about changing the status quo. Second, officials from the imperial court feel that they have learned a lot of theories and can do a lot of things when they go to the local area. In the end, they are not familiar with the local situation and blindly give orders, slapping their heads and making decisions, then leaving after making a mistake. In the end, the moment they leave, they will be dealt with. Do they think that our Tang dynasty's countless patrol officers are just decorations? Gong Sun Weiyu nodded repeatedly and looked at Xiao Bei with fear. Little girl, you really know a lot. The old man appeared again. He walked forward and patted Xiao Bei's head. Xiao Bei blushed and said embarrassedly, Brother and sister told us on the boat. They also said a lot of other things, but I didn't remember them. That's not bad. What you remember is very useful. The old man continued to praise her. Thank you, thank you. We're really leaving. We'll come back again in the future. Hey, what are you crying for? We're leaving Wenshan County, not going to die. We'll be able to eat good food once we reach Yizhou. To be honest, I've been having a hard time eating the school cafeteria these past few days. Some of the dishes aren't even seasoned properly. I'm going to enjoy my life. After leaving behind a bunch of words, Xiao Bei pulled Xiao Yuan and skipped away. The people sending them off silently watched the group disappear from sight. For a long time, no one made a sound. It was only when a flock of wild birds flew up from the trees that the crowd came to their senses. What a good child. It's a pity she's gone. How good would it be if she stayed in the county forever? A man who had helped carry the things said reluctantly. One can't be too selfish. If she stays here forever, what about others? Later, we'll have the school cafeteria changed to a smaller pot. Xiao Bei and the others are really too much. They don't say anything even if it's not good. I don't see them eating less and eating happily. So it's because they're holding it in. Sigh. The old man suddenly felt his heart ache and was even angrier. The school cooks were not cooking properly. Gong Sun Weiyu also said, Of course, what do they usually eat? The last meal today was cooked by them. We've all tasted it, right? It's a world of difference. If I had children like Xiao Bei and the others, I'd give them my heart and liver, another person said. Gong Sun Weiyu and Wei Wei smiled. It's not just you, it's the same for everyone. If Xiao Bei follows His Majesty to court, she will sit on the same dragon chair as His Majesty. Even the officials of the censorate will pretend they don't know. Huh? The people around them exclaimed. The old man said in disbelief, Not impeaching? Impeachment is fine. If any official dares to stand up and impeach Xiao Bei and the others, His Majesty will first send someone to investigate this official. If you want to make a name for yourself by stepping on Xiao Bei, you'll have to pay with your life. Moreover, even if the impeachment is successful, His Majesty will first issue an edict of self-guilt, and then Xiao Bei will admit her mistake. You can't cut off the head of a child like her, right? At most, she'll be sentenced to exile. Will they care? When Minister Zhang from the Ministry of Works went to Luzhou, others thought he was being exiled. But now, what's happening to Luzhou? Gongsun Weiyu said with a smile. After saying that, he laughed heartily. The others were also very happy. Go back. Find someone to make a wax stand. It has to be carefully designed. When the paraffin wax comes, we'll make a profit first. As expected of Xiao Bao's sister, you can think of a way to make money in the blink of an eye. I'll draw a simple logo and put the logo on everything produced in the county. With a wave of his hand, Gongsun Weiyu led the people back. The torches flickered, the wind was comfortable, and the night was enchanting. Let's go to Weizhou. Xiao Bei asked someone to bring a map and asked Sister Xiao Zhu about the location. She pointed to the west of Weizhou. We're not going back to Weizhou? Little Yuan still wanted to go back and eat good food. Who will we sell the cement to in Weizhou? Weizhou is more remote. We have to buy things and send them to Wenshan first. They gave us most of the things in their house. What if they starve to death? Using the light, Xiao Bei held a boiled duck and gnawed on it. It was a freshly cooked duck. He ate 2 mouthfuls and drank some water. It was spicy. Little Yuan reached out and plucked a wing from Xiao Bei's duck. She nodded and said, "That's right. I support you." Thus, the group changed their route and headed for Weizhou. Because they needed to carry some things, they had to travel for 3 days over the mountains before they arrived at a county near Weizhou called Yuanqing, which was also part of Maozhou. This place was less than 6 hours away from the main city of Weizhou. We're arriving at night again. Let's set up camp. It's a mess inside. There's no place to set up camp. Xiao Bei felt sorry for the people in the group. It was not a special situation. There was no need to be tired all the time. It was not worth it to force the troops to walk all the way. The accompanying guards and logistics personnel did not think much of it. They treated it as training. Usually, they would train once every 20 days to maintain their combat strength. They could face any emergency and be pulled out to fight. They could win the battle and take pride in it. They were an elite team that had 24 hours, all weather and all terrain. The next morning, a portion of the group hurriedly ate breakfast and followed the little ancestors to Tunghua County to take a look at the situation. If there were enough resources, they could buy them and get someone to send them to Wenshan. The group did not enter and went directly to the main city of Weizhou. The group of about 100 people walked for half an hour before they finally saw the main road. It was about 3 meters wide and had green grass and red, white, and purple wildflowers growing on it. On one side of the road was a wasteland, and on the other side was farmland. It could be seen that barley was planted there. The seedlings were uneven, probably because no one took good care of them. Xiao Bei picked up the binoculars and said happily, "It's better than Wenshan. There are signs of people in front. Are we walking in a village or outside a city?" "It's inside a city. There are no outer city walls outside Tunghua County. There are no earthen walls. It's only an area because there are troops stationed in Weizhou." Xiao Zhu had a deeper understanding of maps. She could even draw many maps of the Great Tang down to the county. "Let's go in. If we had known earlier, we would have eaten less. We could have tried the local delicacies of Tunghua County." Xiao Bei began to regret. She had drunk a large bowl of chili soup, stuffed 3 fried cakes, half a plate of dried tofu in chili oil, and 2 tea eggs. Perhaps it was too early, but there was no one on the road. There was only the shadow of an old man herding sheep on the side of the mountain before disappearing again. After walking for about 10 minutes, the group saw houses and people carrying poles in front of them. Just as it was about to be lively, there was a commotion behind them. "Get out of the way, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out of the way." The voices came from different people. Xiao Bei and the others were shocked and quickly hid in the wasteland by the side of the road. The guards had already put their hands on the guns under their clothes. "Wait first. Maybe there's something urgent," Xiao Hai instructed. Everyone turned their heads to look at the group of people behind them. After a few glances, the number of people was estimated to be between 500 and 600. They took up about 3 meters of the road. They formed a long line and walked forward in a mighty manner. The 6 people who had started to curse stared at Xiao Bei and the others with vigilance. At the same time, they were panting. It seemed that they had just run over. After a while, the group behind them came over. There were 2 rows of 40 people in front of them holding poles. The poles had flags on them. There was a cartoon pattern of alfalfa on the flags. This group of people slowly passed by. Then, a shout of light drum sounded. Behind the 40 people, there were 20 people with small drums hanging from their waists. They quickly and lightly hit the drumsticks. Dong, dong, dong. The continuous sound lingered in everyone's ears. Then, there were 100 people wearing dark green close-fitting tunics. Each of them had a sword at their waist. The tassels of their swords reached the ground. They walked over with their heads held high. Then, there was a group of horses. It was hard to count at the moment. Anyway, there were 2 horses moving side by side. There were people on the horses. When they walked over, they counted that there were 60 horses. After the group of horses, there were 8 people carrying a house? A palanquin? A palanquin with a cover around it? Anyway, it was something with a frame around it and a curtain over the frame. There were 11 of these things in a row. Behind these things were also 100 people carrying swords. They were a little further away, so they couldn't be seen clearly. However, there were mules. They were probably supplies. At this time, one of the things in the middle of the 11 frames, which was the 6th one, arrived in front of Xiao Bei and the others. Following the order to stop from inside, the 8 people carrying this thing stopped moving. After a few breaths, the curtain at the window of this thing was lifted from inside, revealing a face. It looked to be around 14 or 15 years old. Because its hair was not tied up, it was clear that it was less than 15 years old. The slightly older child scanned the faces of Xiao Bei and the others twice. His mouth opened slightly, and he exerted force in his abdomen. He asked with a nasal voice, "Who are you people? Where did you come from?" Xiao Bei and the others didn't say anything. They just sized up this older child. "My young master is asking you a question. Are all of you mute or deaf?" A person in brown silk who was following beside this thing asked. Immediately, Xiao Bei's eyes lit up. He seemed very excited. Xiao Yuan and the others also looked excited. "Yo! You still don't want to say anything. Do you think that we can't do anything to you if you don't say anything? If you don't know what's good for you, we'll teach you a lesson. There are quite a lot of people. TSK, TSK, TSK. These little fellows are quite exquisite." The person who spoke just now was obviously a manager or someone carrying a flag started to criticize them again. At this moment, Xiao Bei's breathing became hurried. He rubbed his hands together and said in a timid voice, We are just passing by and want to go to the county to buy something. We are hungry and haven't eaten in the morning. We will leave after we finish buying." "Really? Really?" The older child in the car repeated her words in a crooked voice. He looked at Xiao Bei from head to toe, grinned, and said affectionately, "What do you want to buy, little girl? Tell Big Brother. If Big Brother is happy, maybe he will give it to you for free." Usually, people called Xiao Bei little lady, because it was a habit of speaking. However, when this young man called her little lady, it was definitely a tease. Xiao Bei's face was red, and his eyes were about to narrow from smiling. He excitedly stuck out his tongue and continued, I want to buy something to eat. Rice, noodles, meat, and vegetables. There are so many people, so we need to eat. Yes, yes. We need to eat. If this little lady is hungry, this young master's heart will ache. Little sister, where are you from? What does your family do? The young man was even happier. He opened his mouth and smiled. His 2 big buck teeth didn't reflect the beauty of other people's tiger teeth. Xiao Yuan was unhappy. We came from the east. Our family does everything. It's hard to explain in a short time. You go on your way. Shut up. Did this young master ask you a question? There is a saying that illness comes from the mouth and disaster comes from the mouth. Today, this young master is in a good mood. There are beautiful things waiting for me in the county, so I will let you go for now. Little sister, let's go together. Come to Big Brother's carriage. The young man reprimanded Xiao Yuan and then began to talk to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei nervously shook his head. No, we're going different ways. I won't go in. After saying this, he hid behind someone else. Won't go in? If you don't go in, you'll starve. Big Brother is waiting for you in the county. And you brat, I don't care who you are. In Tunghua, if you're a dragon, you have to give this young master a plate. If you're a tiger, you have to lie down for me. If you want to be a tortoise, don't show your head. Otherwise, I'll smash your shell. In Tunghua, this young master doesn't need a reason to deal with people. Let's go. We'll wait for my little sister in the county. The young man closed his eyes and raised his chin. The curtains were drawn down. The group continued to move forward. The steward looked at Xiao Bei and the others again. The corners of his mouth curled up. He coldly snorted, raised his head, and walked away. Behind them was indeed an army of supplies. They grandiosely walked in front of Xiao Bei and the others, kicking up a lot of dust. Little girl, not counting the people inside that thing, there are exactly 600 people, a steward reported to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei had been rubbing his hands the whole time. When he heard the voice, he beamed with joy and nodded vigorously. After a while, his eyes turned into crescent moons. He said to Xiao Yuan, this is great. What did Big Brother and Big Sister say? Yes, it's that those with aspirations will succeed. Cut off the cauldrons and sink the boats. 200 Qin passes will eventually belong to Chu. Those who work hard, the heavens will not let them down. They will endure hardships to taste their goal. 3,000 Yu Jia can swallow Wu. Can't this be considered as the beginning of a happy ending? Ha 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 ha, do you see? Do you see? If I didn't say we were going to Weizhou, we would have gone straight back to Yizhou. How could we have come across such a good thing? I only realized today that you're really handsome, Xiao Yuan. When Xiao Bei said this happily, he hugged Xiao Yuan's head and kissed him hard on the face. Xiao Yuan's face instantly turned red. He muttered, I've always been handsome. Be reserved, Xiao Hai said to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei kissed Xiao Hai again. Big Brother, I realize that you're also very handsome. Xiao Hai looked at the sky helplessly and didn't say anything. Xiao Bei took out a bottle of fruit juice from his bag and drank a few mouthfuls to calm his emotions. He said to the person beside him, Uncle Zhang, we have to think of a way to get in, right? We can't take this route anymore. That brat will probably be waiting for us. Help me think of a way. I'm going to secretly investigate today. The person Xiao Bei called Uncle Zhang was naturally the third steward of the Zhang family and the Wang family. He was in charge of the little ancestors' affairs. When he heard Xiao Bei's words, he began to mourn for the people who had just passed by. Along the way, the little ancestors had been looking forward to the stars and the moon, hoping to find someone to tidy them up. Unfortunately, the two officials they had met before hadn't been able to do so. Now, the heavens had finally fulfilled their wishes. Whose child was that? If the procession ceremonial guards were to be added with some illegal items, it would be an official of the third rank or above. Moreover, it would be an official procession, not the usual ceremonial guards used to attend court. For example, they would go to the lower ranks to inspect the lower ranks, welcome the princes and above from the foreign vassals, or accompany the emperor's ceremonial guards to serve as a foil. The difference was that there was no gong to open the road. The 8 people didn't carry a carriage, and there were no yellow silk umbrellas on top. Those who had weapons wore swords instead of knives, axes, and halberds. Otherwise, they would be directly executed and their entire family would be executed. Even so, it was enough to show off. The main problem was that he had offended the little ancestors. The little ancestors were usually humble, but that didn't mean that they didn't have a temper. Just as the brat who didn't know how he would die in the future said, there was no need for a reason to deal with people in Tonghua. Then, the little ancestors of the Zhang family didn't need an explanation when deciding the life and death of people in the whole world. However, they had never done so before. With a sigh, this Uncle Zhang, who was also the third steward Zhongqing, started to come up with ideas. If the Lord was worried, the Lord would work, and if the Lord was humiliated, the Lord would die. Just based on the matter just now, even if the brat was considered to be light, it would be 80 strokes of the cane or 200 strokes of the whip. It just depended on the status of the little ancestors. Little ancestor, we have to take a detour and split up first. After disguising ourselves, we will gather in the county town. You can't go there first. Wait until we send people to find a place to stay and hide, then you can go there. Zhongqing said to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei nodded. Okay. Uncle Zhang has troubled you. This is what I think. It's really not that we want to bully him. Look, we were standing by the roadside. When his procession came, we moved aside, right? However, he still wanted to bully us. Not only did he tease me, but he also scolded Xiao Yuan. Who is Xiao Yuan? He's my future husband, right? Shouldn't I be considerate of my husband? Xiao Yuan was stunned when he heard this. He thought to himself, you're right. Why didn't you say that in the past? Furthermore, I can guarantee that you will bully me the next time you turn around. Are you really that shameless when it comes to diplomacy? How could Xiao Bei know what Xiao Yuan was thinking? She smiled sweetly at Xiao Yuan and continued, Also, there's that. He dares to bully so many of us. It can be seen how arrogant he is. It was likely that he had done a lot of things like bullying men and women and disregarding human lives. If we don't deal with him, we won't be able to appease the anger of the people. If we don't deal with him, we won't be able to uphold the might of the heavens. If we don't deal with him, we won't be able to. My Xiao Bei, as long as you tell me to do anything to him, this old servant will do anything to him. You don't have to waste your time looking for reasons and excuses. Zhongqing tried to persuade them. Suddenly, he felt that his little brats were still the best. Before they acted, they would always find the other party's fault. It had been like this all along the way. If they couldn't find the other party's fault, they would just bear with it, even if they really wanted to find someone to teach them a lesson. Xiao Bei smiled. Punishing without teaching is called torture. I'm different from him. He thinks that he has some power in a place, so he's so arrogant. He bullies his own people and outsiders to show off his power. I'm in charge of the lives of the officials of the great Tang. Who do I need to show off my abilities to? He's afraid that others aren't afraid of him, so he wants to suppress everyone. I hope that the officials of the great Tang aren't afraid of me. It shows that they are righteous and upright. It's a blessing for the people of the great Tang. Those who fear me have a guilty conscience. This old servant is lucky to be able to follow the little lady and the little young masters. This old servant is very lucky. After Xiao Bei finished speaking, Zhongqing knelt on the ground and shouted. The others also knelt down and shouted. All right, get up. I'm quite embarrassed. I don't usually see you kneeling. Are you crazy today? You believe a few words to fool people. Help me find out. I'm going to teach him a lesson. Xiao Bei said bashfully with a red face. Thus, the people who were kneeling just now all stood up. They were all expressionless, as if nothing had happened just now. Zhongqing found a few people to disguise themselves and entered the county. The rest of the people retreated and found a place far away from the main road to hide. They would wait for the people to come back. Seeing the little ancestor quietly sitting there and waiting, Zhongqing revealed a comfortable smile. He knew that he didn't need to send people to find any evidence. He could just directly crush the other party. But since the little ancestor wanted to play, he could only accompany them. It had been a long and tiring journey, so it was good to have some fun. An hour later, the people he sent came back one after another. They brought back quite a few clothes and 4 land deeds. Half an hour later, Xiao Bei and the other 9 people were dressed up in various ways. Some were carried on poles, some were led by people who were beaten up as if they were escaping, and some were carried on people's backs as if they were sick. The group took a detour and entered the county. The population of Tunghua County was actually much smaller than that of Wenshan, but there were few villages in Tunghua County. At the same time, most of the people who were registered lived in the county. Unlike Wenshan, where more than 20 villages were registered, there were many people in the other mountains who were not registered. There were also people who were not registered in Tunghua County. They also lived in the mountains or sailed by the river. No one was willing to check their household register. Naturally, these 2 places were still okay. For example, Lu Zhou, when he was registered in a province, there were only a few people. However, when the mountain people left the mountains, they registered one after another. They could easily choose young and strong men to form a large army. They were the legendary Guangxi wolf soldiers. They were short, strong, and good at swimming in the jungle. They were good at ambushing and using poison. They often jumped and attacked head-on and loved to cut off the enemy's head. They were uneducated and held grudges. They would be loyal if they were subdued. It was precisely because of this that when Zhang Zhong brought his family from Luzhou to Xuzhou, no one wanted to kill them. When the wolf soldiers fought against the imperial court as tribes, it was very difficult to destroy them. They were usually pacified. Once they formed an army, no one dared to touch them. Chapter 1199. Because the businesses of the families under investigation were only concentrated in Tunghua and were not big businesses, and there were no businesses of the Zhang family and Wang family in Tunghua County, the information obtained was not very detailed. The people sent out to investigate only had a rough understanding. From this, it could be seen that the Chen family did have power in the area, but it also showed that their family had not reached the level of 100% control of Tunghua County. If it were Sanshui County, outsiders would not be able to obtain any information if they directly inquired about the situation of the Zhang family and Wang family in Zhuangzi. At the same time, they would be targeted, and it would not be easy to leave. Xiao Bei and the other 9 people began the meeting. They expanded the meeting to allow the think tanks of the other families to participate. Xiao Bei spoke first. "I have a question to ask. Please help me analyze it. Since the Chen family in Maozhou's Tunghua County is able to cover the sky with one hand, why didn't our inspection team find evidence of collusion between officials and merchants?" Xiao Bei was asking about the 6 people in the left corner. These 6 people were dressed similarly. Every one of them wore loose clothes with high collars that completely covered their hands and necks. They even wore sunglasses, regardless of whether the room was dark or not. These 6 people were specially chosen. They were the best at scheming. If they stood in the front, they would not be able to do anything. If they were placed in the shadows, they would play a big role. "Number 1, you speak." Xiao Yuan called out names. Because the 6 people did not like others to call their names directly, they used numbers instead. One of the 6 people lowered his head and covered his mouth with one hand. He said in a low voice, "If I were in charge of the Chen family, I would consider the problem of the Tang Empire's inspection team. I would not give them direct evidence. At the same time, I would be willing to pay money to support the administrative plan of the county officials." After waiting for a while, Xiao Bei saw that he did not speak, so he asked, "Anything else?" "Let me add." Another person wearing sunglasses said, "The reason why we can't find any problems is that when the Chen family was doing business, they did not hoard important livelihood goods and inflate the price of goods. When they force others to submit, they do not do it through force. They can use money and influence the people around them. In other words, even if someone was bullied by them, there is no evidence to prove that what they did was not in accordance with our dynasty's laws." Zhang Yang did not commit a crime. Xiao Bei started to worry. He really couldn't find any evidence of the other party's crimes. Could it be that he had to use his status to suppress them? Little Yuan suggested, "Give them a taste of their own medicine. Once it's confirmed that they're oppressing others through other means, we'll do the same. Continue the investigation." I don't believe that they are clean. Not to mention them, is my family clean? If it weren't for my brother and sister's strength, and my family's power, we would have been exterminated 10 times over. For example, last month, the construction of a precious candy house in Hunan province was going on around the clock. It was so noisy that the people around it couldn't rest well. Moreover, the pile of materials fell down, injuring 2 people. Normally speaking, they should stop working and send the person in charge to the authorities to be whipped. They would be locked up for at least 10 days to half a month. What did we do? If money was used, the construction site would continue as usual, and the matter would be over after paying the injured people a sum of money. The authorities didn't send anyone to investigate, and the victim didn't seem to have any intention of holding on. Little Hai spoke frankly about the dark side of his family. Little Bei said in a low voice, "We paid a lot of money. The 2 injured people won't be disabled. We gave them 500 strings of cash each." The surrounding neighbors calculated based on the number of people, regardless of size, 30 strings of cash each. We also gave them a lot of seafood and meat. In fact, they didn't say anything. They didn't report it to the authorities when they were arguing, and the people who were smashed never said anything about pursuing the matter. We were the ones who took the initiative to compensate. That's because we have a reputation and people are willing to support us. This matter has always made me feel uncomfortable. I always feel like I owe them a lot. I have to find an opportunity to compensate them. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep peacefully. Little Hai was more rigorous in his work and was unwilling to find excuses for himself. Yes. The people are so good. What's that little bit of money? Bullying the easy to bully is a crime. If it were my family, I definitely wouldn't be so kind. Do you still remember how my family's villager's leg was broken in Hunan province? At that time, my family took revenge. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. No matter how much money we paid, it was useless no matter who we asked for help. Little Yuan echoed. That's because my brother and sister's style of doing things is different. Otherwise, they wouldn't say things like, "If you kill one of my people, I'll slaughter your village." Let's get down to business first. Send a report first. Transfer Shuiyun's family over and keep an eye on the Chen family. Little Bei changed the topic again. Tong Hua's Chen family, which was targeted by Little Bei's group of 9, was currently shrouded in a tense atmosphere. The eldest young master, who had just returned from outside, was directly called to the study and reprimanded, saying that he shouldn't be showing off outside at such a time. Then, the entire family began to discuss. The Chen family's residence was in the county town. The county town had 2 vertical and 3 horizontal streets and countless small alleys. Overall, the county town was divided into 12 irregular blocks, one of which was occupied by the Chen family. It was no longer a matter of how many houses there were. The entire area was filled with countless houses and layers of courtyards. There were small bridges and flowing water, green willows and red flowers, ginkgo trees that reached the sky, rockery that led to seclusion, and winding corridors that stopped at platforms. The Chen family had 3 branches. The old master was still alive, but he didn't manage the family affairs. All the family affairs were handed over to the eldest branch. At this time, the main members of the 3rd branch had all come to the family's discussion hall. The old master sat in to listen, and the heads of the 3 branches were in charge of discussing. Each family also brought their sons to learn. There were 3 people in the eldest branch, the head of the family and 2 sons. The eldest son was the one who met Little Bei outside. There was also a boy who was 10 years old. His eyes were always darting around. He seemed very clever and lacked a trace of calmness. There were only 2 people in the 2nd branch. In addition to the head of the family, there was also a son who was older than the eldest son of the eldest branch. He was already 20 years old this year. He sat there with a calm expression, but his gaze was threatening. When people looked at him, they would always have 2 thoughts in their hearts. One was to ignore him. So what if his gaze was threatening? What could he do to him? The other was to look at him. Who didn't know how to put on a pretentious look? Only he knew how to do it. The eldest young master, who had interacted with little Bei before, had the urge to gouge his eyes out. If they looked at each other, he didn't have enough confidence. If they didn't look at each other, he seemed to have a guilty conscience. Obviously, his status was the highest among his generation, but everyone thought highly of this person from the second branch. There was also the third branch. The third branch had a lot of people and was fertile. It was also the branch that the old master liked the most. They had many grandchildren and could have many children. The third branch had a lot of sons. There were actually 7 in the family. Excluding the head of the family, there were 6 people. The eldest son had yet to be crowned and looked 2 years younger than the second branch. Of the remaining 5, 2 looked very similar, and the other 3 looked very similar. Naturally, they were the twins and triplets. The twins were 13 or 14 years old. They were about the same age as the young master of the first branch. Moreover, they had one thing in common, which was that they had dark circles under their eyes. It seemed that they had overindulged. Now, sitting there, they also looked drowsy and listless. Each of the triplets had a silver collar around their neck and emerald bracelets on their wrists. They were the youngest of the triplets. Looking at how they would twist their bodies after sitting for a while, they were at most 4 or 5 years old. They didn't dare to make a sound, but they didn't stay idle. There were clearly many snacks and fruits on the table, but they insisted on grabbing a plate. After being glared at by the adults, they became obedient for a few breaths, then turned their heads and began to compete with each other again. This was the situation in the Chan family's discussion hall. There were no women, and the servant girls were also not present. After delivering the snacks and tea, they went out and stayed far away. Let's start. The old master, who was listening at the side, said to his eldest son, then closed his eyes and narrowed his eyes. The head of the first branch also had the surname Chen, which was the same as his father's, Chen Guangho. The second and third brothers were called Chen Guangliang and Chen Guangchuan respectively. They belonged to the Guang generation, and the next generation belonged to the Yao generation. For example, his son was called Chen Yaozu, and the son of the second branch was called Chen Yaodong. If there was a next generation, it would probably be the Guang generation. But this hope was very slim now. Chen Yaozu had offended someone he shouldn't have offended and couldn't afford to offend. The matter discussed in the family today was related to the person Chen Yaozu had offended. It has been confirmed that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan have both arrived in Yizhou. The war will start at any time. We can't control the war, and we don't have soldiers to send. Even if they don't force us to take money, we don't need to take the initiative to support them. Chen Guangho coughed and swept his eyes over everyone's face as he spoke slowly. Except for the old master, who was still sleeping, everyone sat up straight. Even the 3 children who were playing around stopped and became obedient in an instant. Chen Guangho lowered his eyes to Weiwei and continued, "The family's business still needs to be done, but there is a priority, especially the goods in the West. Temporarily stop." The people sitting there didn't make a sound and listened quietly. The rule in the family was that if the eldest branch didn't allow you to speak, you weren't allowed to interrupt. Otherwise, you would be punished at least, and expelled from the family at most. Stop one business, and other businesses need to be strengthened. The business isn't the most important. If it really can't be done, then stop. With the family's savings, it may not decline after a few decades. Chen Guangho showed a pained expression when he said that the family's business had to be stopped. Clearly, he was very distressed. He pursed his lips for a while and sighed. What worries me the most is that someone will use the family's name to do things outside and provoke others. Spending money can solve the problem. But now, it's Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan who came. If the 2 of them were busy with the arrangements for the war and didn't have time to care about other things, then their younger brother and sister had been waiting for someone to stir up trouble. For example, the third branches Yao Hong and Yao Wei always like to dress up as ordinary people and then secretly provoke people around Tong Hua. When others make a move, they will teach them a good lesson. This won't do, absolutely not. If you stir up trouble, you'll be causing trouble for the family. Tong Hua, Chen, want to be like the Chen family. What's wrong with hanging out with a bunch of hooligans all day? The head of the third branch, Chen Guangchuan, sat there with a gloomy expression and didn't say a word. His two sons, the twins, couldn't control their bodies from trembling. The two of them were the ones who were just talking about. When they had nothing to do, they liked to pretend to be ordinary people and then look for opportunities to teach others a lesson. Every time they saw the regret and fear in the eyes of those who were taught a lesson, they would feel great satisfaction. Chen Guangchuan didn't say anything, but his eyes were looking at the eldest son of Chen Guangho, Chen Yaozu, who had met Xiao Bei before. His second and third sons did indeed mix with a bunch of idle people on the streets, but nothing major had ever happened, let alone cause someone to lose their life. No matter how bad his two sons were, they weren't arrogant. Look at your son. He usually goes out to find hundreds of people, all for money. Moreover, he bullies men and women, and he even has 2 lives on his hands. When outsiders die at his hands, even if you, as his father, help clean up after him, others might not know, but how could I not know? His third son was unhappy, but his second son acted like nothing had happened. His son, Chen Yaodong, still had a threatening gaze and didn't move. Third son, in the future, you have to watch your family. My words aren't directed at your family, but at the entire Chen family. As I said just now, I heard that Zhang Xiaobei and the others went to Wanshan County. I reckon that the county magistrate, Wang Chang, won't be able to stay. Wang Chang's life or death has nothing to do with us. I'm just afraid that after dealing with Wang Chang, they'll be annoyed and move to our Tunghua County. Remember this, if anyone dares to provoke them, I'll beat them to death and send them to ask for punishment. Tell the subordinates to open their eyes one by one. Everything in Tunghua County must be stable. When the clan goes out to buy groceries, they're not allowed to bargain. Tell the county magistrate, Zhao Jianghao, that we'll spend money to build a good school and put the children in there. Yes. We can't always be the ones to lose out. Tell the other merchants in the county to get a share. Chen Guangho finished speaking in a low voice. He waited for a while before drinking 2 mouthfuls of tea. He lightly knocked the teacup on the table, making a crisp tinkling sound. Then, he nodded to his second and third brothers. Who has anything to say? Hearing that their boss allowed them to speak, Chen Guangliang and Chen Guangchuan looked at each other. Then, Chen Guangliang spoke up. Big brother, I don't object to stopping the trade in the West. After all, if people find out, the clan will be exterminated. But should we sell the goods that came 10 days ago? If we sell them, the amount will be too large. It'll easily arouse the vigilance of Zhang Xiaobao and the others. Once they start investigating, we won't be able to hide from them no matter how hard we try. Who can hide from the Zhang family and Wang family's intelligence personnel? Back then, in the Jiangnan Dao, the 3 major powers moved together. It only prevented the Zhang family and Wang family's intelligence personnel from finding out where the main person was hiding. It wasn't that they couldn't find any clues. At that time, if the Zhang family and Wang family weren't anxious, they would eventually find out. In the end, we forced Zhang Xiaobao to make a move. As for the result, I think everyone already knows. I'm worried that we'll be found out when we sell the goods. If we don't sell the goods and keep them in our hands, the amount of fodder and manpower we consume every day is not a small amount. If we throw money into the goods that were originally going to be turned into money, how can the family business bear the cost? As soon as Chen Guangliang finished speaking, he also picked up his tea and drank. He only mentioned the problem, but didn't mention the slightest method to solve it. He pushed the problem to Chen Guangho. For a moment, the hall was so quiet that the sound of breathing was almost inaudible. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became more oppressive. The 3 children of Chen Guangchuan's family kept their mouths shut and nervously clenched their small hands into fists. Chen Guangho's hands were crossed in front of his chest. His 2 thumbs were constantly moving around each other. Occasionally, he would stop and press the pads of his thumbs together. Just like that, a full quarter of an hour passed. When the children found it difficult to breathe, Chen Guangho let out a muffled groan from his nose. The weather is getting hotter and hotter. When there's a war, there's bound to be people transporting supplies. Our northern region of Jiannandao will be more prosperous. Pepper and sweet garlic are good food, but vinegar is not only good for dipping dumplings and steamed buns. Chen Guangho said these words while everyone was waiting for him. As soon as he finished speaking, he closed his eyes and leaned back, shrinking his body. The others were even more puzzled. The children couldn't worry about the family, so they weren't nervous when they heard the movement. Chen Guangho's eldest son, Chen Yaozu, had a confused expression, while the only son of the second branch, Chen Yaodong, had a slightly relaxed expression. Chen Guangliang and Chen Guangchuan were in deep thought, and the hall was silent again. Everyone thought about it, but they still couldn't figure out what the patriarch meant. The third son, Chen Guangchuan, was about to ask. Chen Guangho suddenly said, "This is easy. I will arrange a solution. Let the Yao clan do it. He has done many things. Although not perfect, he is stable. If there are any other questions, go do your own thing. Don't forget what I said. Look after your own people. If they get into trouble, you won't be able to protect your family." After saying that, he got up and walked out, nodding to his father who was still lying on the chair. His two sons hurriedly chased after him and left together. Let's go. I will take Dong-er with me. Third brother, you are still free." The second son, Chen Guangliang, signaled to his son and swayed out with his hands behind his back. Chen Guangchuan and his family looked at each other. Chen Guangchuan smacked his lips and put the lid back on the teacup. He turned to the old man and said, "Father, if you are tired, why don't you rest in the back? The hall is too empty. You will catch a cold if you sleep for a long time." And the old man seemed to have just been woken up. He opened his mouth and yawned, stretched, and looked around. "Are you done? Do as your eldest brother said. It's okay to suffer a small loss occasionally. There is a future if you live. Your eldest brother is right. Although Xiaobei and the others have high positions, they are still children. They don't care about governing the country, so they can only find trouble with others all day long. Father knows that your eldest brother's family is not reassuring. Have the two boys in your family ever been easy to worry about? Go ahead and capture their studies. When Xiaobei and the others leave, that's when the children will be released. It's better to be bored at home than to die." The old man of the Chen family got up and shook his legs. After saying the last word, he walked to the door, turned around, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Chen Guangchuan stared at the door and shook his head. The old man is still young. I thought he was confused. Sigh. Father, do you really want us to study at home? Father, we promise not to cause trouble when we go out. If others don't have eyes, we will hide. Chen Yaohong, one of the twins, heard every word and begged his father. No one knew a son better than his father. Chen Guangchuan would never believe what his son said. He opened his eyes wide and reprimanded, "You promise. How many times have you promised? You want to cause trouble with the identity of ordinary people. In the end, you show your identity and reverse the situation. You win because others have no temper and you win because of arrogance. Let me tell you, you can't be arrogant in the surrounding area. Xiaobei and the others also like to pretend to be ordinary people. If you meet them, what do you two use to win? Father, they can't be unreasonable. Can't we not provoke others?" Chen Yaowei chimed in. "Reasonable? You two are usually unreasonable, but now you want to be reasonable with me? If you don't provoke them, won't they provoke you? Go and study, go and study." Chen Guangchuan shook his head and walked out. He met the housekeeper at the door and said, "Tell the family that no one is allowed to let them out. Otherwise, they will be punished." You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.